wow, wow.
Hello, hello, hello. Hi, Kitsu. Hi, Yahazu. Poyo!
Hi.
Can't forget the Poyo. We're here
Poyo.
with another game talk with Nono.
It's me, I'm Nono. Hello, hi, thanks for having me, Hog.
Welcome in, welcome in. Yes, we did our last one back in... Oh, thanks to the resub, Yahazu, for 45 months.
Oh, wait.
Much appreciated.
Hold on, let me jump in on that.
Lovely fate.
What's a funny message, Hog?
I got the alternative sound. Perfect. Nice.
Fuck. What's funny in 2026? There we go. I panicked.
Among Us.
Among Us.
Nice. Could have gone 6-7. Because people must short of 6-7.
Oh, right, that's what the kids are into nowadays.
Yeah, you gotta keep up.
I'll do that. I'll do that in 4 months, Hog.
Alrighty.
Yeah,
So-
if I remember.
Perfect. So obviously haven't done one of these in a while, and we kind of started doing tech check-in a little late. So please let me know if the audio needs adjusting. I've got my Discord audio capture is pretty scuffed right now. So if Nono's too quiet, I can lower my own volume. Or if he's too loud, we can definitely adjust that. If the background music is way too loud, I can turn that down. Just let me know.
If you need me to tone it down, please feel free to let me know too.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But yeah.
Yeah, I think the last time we did it was before the Game Awards, right? To talk
Yeah.
about the Game Awards.
Yeah, we did it end of last year, I think, November or something. Our music can go down 3-4 ticks. Perfect, I can do that.
So theoretically, we're finally doing what we set out to do last year, which was like do one of these every quarter or so.
We're doing it
We're kind of on schedule.
4 months in, so basically a third of the way through the year. I think that's a decent.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, right. A quarter is 3 months, not 4.
Yep, that is how quarters work. It is 1/4.
Right. Right. Math.
Math indeed. But yeah,
You telling me the math is mathing?
I am. The math is indeed mathing.
Fuck.
Crazy. But yeah, so now we've had a few months.
It's already been a long year.
It has been. There's been a lot of stuff
Yeah.
going on in 2026 already. How are we feeling about 2025, though? I know we did it right after the Game Awards, so the discussion was wild, but, I mean, how are we still feeling about
Yeah.
it? What was your game of the year?
2025, when it comes to video games specifically, was really stacked, and it doesn't look like it's stopping anytime soon this year. We've already had a lot of big releases.
2025 in video games, look at that. Critically acclaimed games already has 6
Yeah.
featured in terms of, like, widespread popularity and reception.
See, this is funny to me, because this is the exact, Game of the Year finalist list, except that we have Split Fiction and Blueprints in there.
Hmm.
and there's no Death Stranding 2 and no Kingdom Come 2.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder who put together this list, actually.
Yeah,
I think it's just based on the
it's
Metacritic score, it looks like.
it is the Metacritic score. Yeah, absolutely. Blueprints and Split Fiction were like game journalism darlings
Hmm.
because you don't, as a games journalist, right? I say that with like full authority, like me, fucking Nono from the Backstreets. As a games journalist, which I am not, you really do get a lot out of games where you can understand the concept very quickly, and you can tell that there's a lot to it.
Hmm.
So, Blueprints and Split Fiction are both perfect games for a games journalist because in the short amount of time that you have to really churn out a review, a well-informed review, which people are trying to do nowadays. We're long past 2012 at this point.
Yeah, we have
Games
ethics in games journalism
doesn't
now.
suck. Yeah. Those games generally do pretty well score-wise because they come in with their own biases, like, hey, this is a short, really well thought out game. That gives you some bonus points.
They're approachable, but with a lot of depth for their genre.
Yeah. So it does not surprise me that they're up there. What does surprise me? Huh. No, that seems about right.
Donkey Kong Bonanza being up that high still surprised me a little bit. I mean, I really enjoyed it, but
I want to say it's the better Nintendo game of 2025, and we do need at least one in there.
certainly just to have
Unless you're
Nintendo rep in
Giant
there.
Bomb and you're giving Metroid Prime 4 a 5 out of 5.
Was definitely not
I
deserving to
will
be up
not,
here.
Yeah, I will not let them lift that one down. That was
Yeah.
yeah, why? I don't know, but you know, tastes are different. This is why we have reviews, so that we can have some unbiased opinions and then kind of read our own information from that, right?
Mhm.
Reviews are so much more than just a score at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's like when in Steam reviews, when I decide if I want to play a game or not, I don't actually look at the positive reviews. I look at the negative ones and see if there's anything that would annoy me personally,
Hmm.
and then I go from there.
See if there's any deal breakers.
Yeah, exactly.
That
Because
makes
oftentimes
sense.
I read a negative review and I'm like, oh, none of this sounds too bad for me.
No, exactly. Like, oh, I hated this mechanic, and I'm like, that's exactly what I'm here for. Please give me more of that mechanic.
Exactly, yeah. Like, you can't make an objective review. That is just impossible. And I do wish people realize that more rather than shitting on reviewers for giving their opinion. Like, no, you're not meant to always agree with them or disagree with them. You just have to make your own informed decision based on what you're reading.
Hmm. Everything's subjective at
And-
the end of the day.
Yeah. I feel like, God, I don't want to go on a rant of like games journalism, but I wanna say that people have definitely come, like, just like in a broader spectrum. I know that a lot of people are under the opinion that games journalism is obsolete nowadays, which I don't think it is.
I mean, it's useful as a cultural touchstone, I think. I mean, like,
Yeah.
look at this. Like, the fact that this table is based on Metacritic scores, which are largely a mix of journalist and user-submitted ones, right? So,
Yeah, exactly.
like, it serves as a branching off point for dialogue to say, oh, a bunch of the critics didn't like this one. Why? What does that have to do
Yeah.
with the game, and does that conflict with the wider populace's opinion on it? Versus
think
if
a
you just
lot of
had
people
individual
still-
opinions, like, hard to make a
Yeah.
compelling narrative out of that.
I think that's more the bigger issue. Yeah, people do want some kind of compelling narrative with journalism. I'm just happy that we're far removed from the age where the journalists that were writing these reviews were not gamers.
Hmm.
Nowadays, it's so much more like in line with people that play video games that But I think a lot of people still have hang-ups like, oh no, we know what video game journalism used to be like, and so we assume that it's still like that, when really, things like the Cuphead tutorial don't happen anymore.
Exactly.
Nowadays, when something like that happens, it's funny.
Yeah, because I was actually, that made me think of another related topic, but video gaming really is just like mainstream. And
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people are still in kind of that mindset of, oh, it's this niche sub hobby where, you know, people are kind of like, oh, Pac-Man and Mario. Wow, what a weird little subculture of modern media. But it really is mainstream now. Like, I watched the Stop Killing Games hearing at the EU Parliament this past week. And what struck me the most was the fact that there are so many MPs that were like, oh yeah, I play Fortnite. So yeah, of course they do. They're 30, 40-year-old adults. Like, everyone either plays games or knows people who play games, or their kids play games. Like, in 2026, I don't know if there's that many people that like genuinely are completely out of touch with the gaming industry as a whole, you know?
Yeah.
Gaming market.
And like when any mainstream media, it's helpful to have some outlets, because then you can really be like, okay, I can see what I vibe with, like, and maybe, oh, I don't know, they haven't misled me yet. I'm gonna keep following the reviews and see if I can learn something from them. It's easier than passing like social media for what people think about a game. Like, if you're going on Reddit in the hopes that you'll be like, oh, I wonder if Clear Obscures for me, I'm gonna look at opinions online. You'll probably leave more confused than you were before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So mom is in her 70s and still plays World of Warcraft and Diablo games. Nice. Yeah. I mean, like,
Hell yeah.
even I'm getting my parents into video gaming. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's mainstream.
My dad really likes racing games. My mom really likes town builders.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I've been doing a Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough with my mom to get her into gaming, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, even I am like, I'm deep in the weeds when it comes to like gaming news, right? Like, there's barely anything that I really miss. And even I have my like one or two outlets where I'm like, oh, they talk about RPGs a lot. I'm gonna specifically follow what they say, and then go from there.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
No, everyone's gonna be an expert in everything.
Opinions.
Yeah, I know. Opinions on the internet. That's a dangerous thing to have.
Crazy. Also, it's free marketing for games.
It is. Absolutely. I mean...
Yeah. There's no such thing as a useless review.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's always a jumping off point for a discussion or...
Yep.
Or something.
So, keep games journalism alive, damn it.
Despite the fact that so many of them are getting tossed out and replaced with AI right now.
Yeah, fuck IGN. Fuck anyone that's using like AI text in the reviews as well. God, help.
Yeah. Fortunately, that's just a wider issue with pretty much all printed media being replaced with AI-generated text.
I found an article about Magic the Gathering deck building, and it talked about how Charizard is really good in the current meta.
Sounds about right.
I wish I still had the link for that, but I think it got deleted.
Yeah, sometimes they catch stuff like that, but sometimes they don't have time to even review it by hand once, which is crazy. I saw a physical newspaper, local town, that had they forgot to remove the blurb at the end where I was like, here's your article, what else can I do for you? Blurb at the end. So just blatantly copied and pasted in from ChatGPT without any manual review, clearly.
Yeah. Apparently there's like company emails that have the same issue where they like have a line at the bottom where it's like, Do you want me to formulate it even more polite?
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I want to specify, because I said it in the same breath, but I'm in no way accusing IGN of using AI. IGN is actually a very reputable source nowadays. But the IGN of old sucks, and it still kind of sucks. They're still sellouts. It's like any games journalism outlet that is owned by a larger company, I would question everything that they do.
Like, by definition, you can't trust them to be impartial because they have a financial interest in not being impartial.
They also have an interest in getting early copies, so of course they don't want to say anything bad about the companies that provide them with the early copies.
Exactly. Hi, Carrick. Welcome in.
Welcome, Carrick.
Yeah, I read about that. I'm definitely going to talk more about AI in depth, and particularly the Japanese-American cultural exchange happening right now on Twitter, which is very interesting. But I'll save that topic for later.
Yeah, isn't well, I know about Shift Up specifically, but aren't developers from the East more AI positive than the ones in the West?
Yeah, it's not universal, but I would say, generally speaking, from what I've seen, there's a lot less pushback culturally against it.
Yeah.
And especially using it for, like, games and that sort of thing. Like, I've been playing Arknights Enfield, the latest gacha from the Arknights developers. And I was very clearly noticing some of their, like, marketing and, like, little tie-in web games that these big gachas do. They were clearly using AI art for a lot of the character art. And there's no reaction to it at all on social media, which was surprising to me because it was very blatant. But it's just like, no, that's just normal and expected already.
I think people are slowly but surely getting numb to it, and that's exactly what they want.
It's just too useful of a tool from a financial standpoint. Unless there's like some major regulation or a bigger wave of pushback against it, it's just not going to do anything.
I would definitely understand it. Okay. I don't want to get too political here, but if you can afford to pay artists, you should probably pay artists. That's all I'm going to say.
Absolutely. Probably gets more into my... I mean, I do get political sometimes. I mean, I think the point of a company, first and foremost, is to provide a livelihood for the people working for the company. And secondly, to produce goods and services that are valuable to society. That is not how American-style capitalism works at all. That is not the metrics by which they are judged.
Hawk, what the hell is running in the background?
I don't know. Is this the Bully remake? No, this is some other random game. I just pulled up a YouTube video of 3 hours of random game trailers. I have no idea what this is.
This looks like something if I browse on Steam for too long.
Oh yeah, speaking of browsing on Steam and AI, that is something I have noticed a lot. Is we haven't seen as many AAA games with like tons of AI art usage yet, and that's just because AAA games have such a long development cycle that they haven't released yet. I guarantee that there's a ton currently in development with tons of AI. But it's very obvious if you go to look at like the recent releases on Steam, like that is almost certainly using AI art. That's a stock animated male character.
It saddens me to see, really.
That's probably AI art there. This one's called
guys,
AI Slop.
Better than this.
Also, there's an entire list of games all the way down to here just in the past day.
It is funny because part of the topic that I want to bring to today's conversation is, in fact, the oversaturation on Steam. Like, there's just so many games, and now that generative AI is a thing that's easily accessible by people, they can churn out even more slop day by day without a care in the world. Is anyone actually buying them? I don't know. But just the fact that they're there and taking up space is a huge issue. PlayStation, actually, to their credit, is going through the shop currently and cleansing it of like as much stuff that they can.
Nice.
I would love Steam to do the same thing, but clearly they have the policy that as long as you disclose the use of AI, they're not gonna do shit about it.
Mm-hmm. Now, Steam doesn't care. They get their money.
Yeah, they get the cut.
I mean, look at this. Like, look at how many games have released just since the start of yesterday. And like, how many of these do you think are actually going to make their $100 deposit back? Like,
that's the thing.
maybe
Why do you
none
have
of
to pay a
them.
deposit? I don't know. It seems like money laundering almost. Maybe that's what's happening here. Maybe they're just buying their own games to money launder.
I know in some cases that is apparently a thing, is that the Steam trading card thing you can abuse to make a small amount of money out of it.
I mean, that would be an interesting point of discussion too. How much responsibility does Steam have as a marketplace to curate what is put on a marketplace? I would say they should have a lot of responsibility.
They should, but I don't think that's how their business model works.
We used to have the Greenlight system, and I feel like that actually worked pretty well, where you couldn't just publish any game on Steam, it would have to go through a process first. Some of it was, well, the Greenlight system was specifically, like, if you get a certain number of wish lists or, like, user support, you get to put your game on Steam.
Yeah. You had to get enough attention for Steam to agree to review your game. Then they had a manual human review process. And then if you passed all that, you get published.
It didn't make much sense back in the day because we didn't get as frequent a game on Steam. But nowadays, we really need a system like this in place, I feel.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it'd be nice. I just don't know if Steam would actually do it, because I don't know if it would improve their business at all to cut down on the number of submissions.
I think that's the sad thing. Yeah, it wouldn't. Because
this is the recent releases tab, which I think at this point the industry standard is just to not even bother trying to market through the recent releases tab. There's just the assumption that no matter what you do, you're going to get buried in the shovelware, so you have to market outside of that.
Didn't Reddit do that recently, where they got rid of /all?
Yep. Well, yes and no. Of course. They still have a curated central feed.
Right.
They are just more picky about what subreddits and posts end up on it.
That makes sense, yeah.
It just allows them to be more algorithmic with it.
Which I think is a smart move of all, like, as a company.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Having all published allows the market to curate instead, and the list is based on actual reviews. Yeah, I think that the main marketing strategy on Steam is getting wishlist numbers currently.
Yes.
So the more actual human beings who have logged into Steam with a already existing library of games and say, I want to buy this one too. That's the main thing that pushes you in the Steam algorithm.
Also, community support, right? Like, word of mouth helps a lot.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, you have to market outside of Steam. Like, you can't just drop your game into the new releases tab here and be like, okay, my game Gloomvex is out now.
Yeah.
And expect to make any money at all. Like, maybe this is the best game ever.
Suicide.
It doesn't look like from the screenshots, but, maybe this is a $1 million game idea. But unfortunately, no one's going to click on this and buy it.
Yeah. I have been noticing a trend recently with some, I don't know if I want to say, like, not necessarily like pure indie developers, but published indie developers, like under Annapurna and Raw Fury, those kinds of companies, Devolver Digital, right?
Yeah.
Where as the game comes out, they do a like almost like a podcast circuit where they go on like multiple podcasts in a row and promote their game there. Specifically like game industry podcasts, and I think that's been working really well to get the word out. Obviously, you can probably not really do that unless you're already an established game developer. Like, fucking Bing Bong publishing his game Trillyback 5000 is not gonna be able to go on a popular podcast just to talk about the game. as like with anything in life, you kind of have to know the right people, and that's what
Exactly.
a publisher is for.
It's all
They
about
know the right people.
the human networking side of it, yeah. Exactly.
And that is a part of what I want to talk about today, specifically like indie games and how to get noticed as an indie game.
Mhm.
Because I've been thinking about that a lot, like probably since the end of last year, because there are a lot of indie games that just are really good that kind of fall under the rug. They still are loved by a niche audience, but they definitely deserve so much more.
hmm
The main one that I want to bring up is actually well, now I feel really bad because I can't think of the name anymore. It's because the fucking title screen changes from one thing to another. It's the Persona-inspired turn-based RPG that I keep raving about. Bloomtown. Which is a phenomenal game with phenomenal gameplay, phenomenal story, phenomenal soundtrack. And it's been popping off, but with a very niche audience. And the problem is, like, RPGs are already a very niche genre.
hmm
Combined it with it being indie, it becomes even more niche.
I can see how a lot of people who don't look into this would just see a screenshot or two and be like, oh, it's an RPG Maker game, and move on.
Yeah. And you have something like this, but then would you want it to be anything different? Because I feel like this kind of game can only exist in the confines that it was made in. I think that's the struggle.
Makes sense.
Let me gather my thoughts here for a second, because I had a whole spiel planned out, and now I'm like looking at Bloomtown, and I'm like, man, I really want to get back to playing that. Hi, ADHD at its finest.
But definitely that's just a huge problem with indies in general, is that, I mean, yeah, okay, you dump 50 new games on Steam every single day, and yeah, 99% of them are shovelware crap, but, you know, sometimes people do release genuinely really good games with years and years of effort into it, and it's just going to end up in the same list as all the others, and how are you going to tell the difference? How are you going to filter that out? Like, yeah, you can market your game, but how are you going to get it in front of enough people to establish an audience that can kind of self-sustain? Even if your game is good. I mean, obviously, if your game is bad.
Yeah.
But even a bad game can still market. It's a very difficult ecosystem to compete in. Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, your game can get very popular even if it's subjectively not that good. Like,
yeah.
Among Us and Lethal Company are not very difficult games to make from a technical standpoint. But they obviously got extremely popular just because the right people played it at the right time and talked to other people who liked it and played it at the right time, and that snowballed into a much broader audience. But, like, I wouldn't say objectively they're particularly special from a design or development standpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah, Among Us was helped a lot by COVID. But, like, it could have been
yes.
any other social deduction game on Steam. Like, Werewolf is older than video games. Like, the fundamental social deduction, social game thing. Right? So, like, sometimes games just go viral for no particular reason. And a lot of games that are better or just as good don't go viral, and either they barely make their money back or don't make any money at all.
I think that's the important thing then as an indie studio, is that you have to kind of recognize what kind of game you're making. That's going to affect a lot of your marketing, because something like Among Us and Repo and Lethal Company and whatnot really thrives on viral marketing because it's very easy to do so. You post like a TikTok clip of something funny, haha, happening in the group, and that can get like hundreds of thousands of views within a day.
Mhm.
because of the way that social media works nowadays. It's very easy to get your eyes on it when you just scroll past everything, right? Something
Exactly.
like Bloomtown here, you couldn't post a TikTok clip of this game and be like, oh my god, look at this. That just doesn't make sense. So you gotta find different venues to market it. And I feel like, of course, going to conventions, right, presenting your game to journalists, helping them spread the word,
Mhm.
and also engaging with the communities that look to play a game like this. Like, if I was a developer that developed a turn-based RPG like this, I would 100% spend as much time as I could in RPG communities to talk about the game and to talk about other games too, right? Make
Yeah.
yourself a part of the crowd, and then that crowd is more likely to check out your stuff because you've already proven that you know what you're talking about.
You got to make yourself a presence in the community.
Exactly.
So
That's
that you
what
come to mind.
went so I think that's honestly part of the reason that Stardew Valley blew up, is because that dude shared his entire development process as he was making the game. Like the whole 10 years that it took him to make it, he was constantly sharing updates online.
Yeah, and it led to a whole narrative around him about look how amazing this solo developer is to build all this solo, and look at how he interacts
Yeah.
with the community and all that.
Unfortunately, a lot of indie developers, especially solo developers that like feel like they don't have the marketing resources, they make a game quietly and never talk to anyone about it. Then they put it out and they're disappointed that it didn't get any traction. It reminds me a lot of people that stream to 0 viewers and don't know why they're not growing.
Same idea, really. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you have to kind of understand the medium that you're working in. You can't just write a newspaper and then put it out on the street and hope that people buy it.
And you got to know how to get people talking about your project.
Yeah.
Whether that's your stream or your game or what. You got to get people thinking about it, talking to their friends about it, most importantly,
Yeah.
or their
I do
social
want to
media
emphasize,
followers.
though, you can absolutely still do that. If that's what you're having fun with, like if you enjoy making a game and just putting it out there, and you don't care if it makes you money or if it sells or people play it, go for it.
Obviously.
This
I mean-
all only applies if you want to run it as a business. And I feel like a lot of people that hope to just make a quick buck off of a slop video game don't realize just how much of a fucking business it is.
Absolutely.
Same with YouTubing or streaming for money. Like, you don't just fall into that. Not anymore. It maybe used to be the thing like 20 years ago when it was fresh and you could absolutely luck into going viral.
And it's a much bigger barrier to
Nowadays,
entry, so you're competing with
It's
a
a
lot
hard
fewer people.
job.
But
Yeah. That's why I keep
Absolutely.
encouraging people, like, do it as a hobby. Don't do it as a job. If it eventually becomes your job, good for you. But that should not be your priority, ever.
Exactly. Like, I am obviously not streaming here for money. I would have to be doing a lot more things if I wanted to turn this into a business. But I do it
Yeah.
for fun, so I don't care about stream schedule and marketing myself. But that's not a viable strategy to to making money unless I happen to
Yeah.
get lucky and go viral. And even then, you got to capitalize on those viral moments with good
Exactly.
good business sense.
That's exactly it, yeah. Like, you really gotta know... You don't have to have, like, a degree in, business, right? But even just common sense can help a lot most of the time. Toby Fox is honestly a good example of, like, how to make it as an indie developer, since Rylan just brought him up. Like, it's a long journey.
Absolutely. Yeah, he
But
didn't
you
necessarily
only-
make 50 like standalone games, but he worked on quite a few. And he was
Yeah.
making music for tons of fan games and Homestuck. Scott Cawthorn was the one who did release a ton of indie games that did not do well until
Yes.
Five Nights at Freddy's went viral.
In fact, he only made Five Nights at Freddy's as a response to someone criticizing one of his earlier games, saying that the characters all look like creepy animatronics. He did FNAF out of spite,
Exactly.
and I respect that. I don't like him as a person, but I respect that. It's definitely interesting because you have to get the practice in. I think a lot of people in any medium really go in with the expectation that they're immediately gonna hit it off. That's just not how life works.
Mhm.
If you dedicate yourself to a craft, expect it to take your entire life.
Absolutely.
Like, at the end of the day, that's what you want to do, so that's what you're gonna do.
It's like all the people in the software world that are like, oh, I've got a great idea for an app.
Yeah, cool. Go make it.
Then go make it then, if you're so confident,
Yeah.
because it's not about having a good idea, it's about having good execution. And good execution only comes from years and years and years of practice.
I've been like that once. I've always talked about how much I enjoy writing and how much I like writing a book. I haven't published a single thing in like 20 fucking years since I've started writing. You know? I fell into that fallacy myself. It's very easy to talk about wanting to do a thing. It's very hard to actually do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been making mods for Outer Wilds for the past 2 years, and I would say I'm still pretty bad at it. After releasing
at
like
least
7
you're
major
doing it.
mods. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm learning. I'm getting better. But I'm still not great. I'm still not particularly good at puzzle design.
And I think that's actually a great segue, mentioning Look Outside. That does bring me to the main topic I want to talk about, which, hold on, I have it written down. Are indie games playing it too safe these days, and do they have to? There we go, there it is.
Good question.
Yeah. In my opinion, I feel like first and foremost, personal opinion, right? I want to preface that this is just how I see things. If you're making an indie game, if you're not beholden to a publisher, this is all yours, you spend your free time on it. Do what makes you happy. I think ultimately, if you play too much towards an already existing market, don't. AAA developers are doing that constantly, and they have the money to do it, and they're still falling on their face.
Absolutely.
I think you have to take advantage of the luxury as an indie developer to really do what you like, make original concepts. That's why something like Look Outside or Outer Wilds really took off, because they found their niche audience and they didn't have to go beyond that.
I mean, you look at
AAA developers need to, because they spend so much money on their games. They have to go as wide as possible.
Yeah, with their insane budgets, they have to capture the majority of the market to make their money back. You have to have most gamers playing their game, which is ridiculous. Or something
That
like,
is my-
Blueprints. Like, what's the market for Blueprints? Much smaller. They're very
Yeah.
passionate about what they were trying to do with it.
And
Very good
because
within
of
their niche.
that, once word came out in that niche, it pretty much attracted everyone in that niche immediately.
Gotta point
If
some of these people like
Blueprints had like a first-person shooter segment, it wouldn't have taken off quite as much.
Probably not. Some people grew up with AAA games and that's what they work from. That is a good point.
Yeah,
I do think that's true to some degree. Like, I mean, Expedition 33 is actually a good counterpoint to that, because that is, in large part, a standard JRPG in a lot of senses. They obviously have
Clay Obscure
intentionally
actually had.
put in some work to put their own spin on it to separate it, but like all their inspiration is the classic Final Fantasies and Sekiros and all that.
It has mainstream appeal. It was able to afford having mainstream appeal.
Yeah, but they're able to compete in a AAA genre by having a very good budget and very aggressive development principles to do more with less.
But
But,
that
like-
was my preface, mostly. I think it all changes when you are an indie developer under a publisher like Raw Fury or Annapurna or Devolver Digital, right? Like at that point, I think you kind of have to try playing to the crowd, because you do have a budget you need to worry about. The question is, how detrimental is that? That's what I really want to, like, ponder.
Is chasing mainstream appeal harmful to the creative vision?
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, I
I
mean,
would say so. Like from my own point of view, yeah.
if you're trying to make a COD-like or a GTA-like or a, I don't know, Assassin's Creed-like, you're probably not going to be able to outcompete a AAA game. So you either need to get a lot more creative with the concept to separate yourself, or just ignore the genre entirely and go for something that's a lot easier to compete in creatively.
I also see a lot of indie games through the approach of, game type A is successful, game type B is successful, let's put them both in the same game and just pray that it works. Which, in my opinion, while it does take off sometimes, like Cult of the Lamb, right? Cult of the Lamb is like, hey, what if we took like a town management sim and a dungeon crawler roguelike and just put it together?
Mhm.
It works for the people that it works for, but you get a lot of people that like game A but don't like game B.
Depends
And
on
then
how
you
cohesive
have-
your design is, too. Do those
Yeah.
genres actually mesh? Did you find a good way to create synergies between them? Or are they just kind of
It's
crudely
also-
shoehorned together?
It's also harder to market it that way because then you'll have a lot of people that are gonna be like, oh, there's already a lot of games like that, why should I play this one?
Mhm.
Whereas you take a look outside, there's nothing else like it. It's an RPG Maker ass game. 20 years ago, I've played a lot of RPG Maker horror games when RPG Maker 2000 first really took off over here.
Mhm.
There was still nothing like it at the time.
But would you not describe it as survival sim meets RPG Maker horror?
I would, if it wasn't designed so freaking well.
And that's the key point, right?
That's the key point. It has a cohesive design. And at the end of the day, like you can take any game engine, like any game framework, as long as you're creative with it, you can absolutely take something that's an established genre or an established game and make something cool with it that no one has done before.
Mhm.
Like we've talked about FPS being like the mainstream genre, right? Like the number one mainstream genre probably is first-person shooter.
Mhm.
You can absolutely do something very creative with that. I would say Control is a perfect example of how to take a third-person shooter and make something weird with it and have it stand out.
Mhm. Mhm. And used it as the gameplay basis, but they had a more creative concept design
Yeah.
around. Or like
And I
Ultra
think
Kill is very popular, and that is
Oh,
technically
yeah,
a
that's a great
first-person shooter
example. Yep.
that kind of created its own subgenre out of it.
Like you can absolutely be unoriginal and still be creative at the same time, and I think that's what we need to see more in indie developers. That's what makes them stand out more.
Mhm.
Like Vampire Survivors, right?
Yeah. It's not just an existing genre, but it's a very particular concept that they've iterated on and made the design really compelling.
Yeah, and it in fact created its own genre that way.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Balatro, right? All of a sudden we get these like gambling-based roguelikes now that Balatro has been popular, and I feel like they're missing the point.
A lot of them are just
Balatro
Balatro,
didn't
but
become
worse.
popular. Yeah, it didn't become popular because it was like, oh, it's poker, but a roguelike deck builder. It became popular because it's a really satisfying game to play for a lot of people, and that's what it boils down to.
Mhm.
You can't just do the same thing but with a slot machine and expect same results.
Mm-hmm. I think
It's
a lot
all
of
very
it comes down
context
to
dependent.
yeah, it has to be well designed and also novel. Is I think the trick.
Yeah.
Anytime you are just blindly copying what other people have done with a minor variation, you're missing out on what made the original popular, which isn't that it was designed the way it was necessarily, like the concept is the same, but the fact that it was novel and interesting. Like I think that if you look at all these games, right, that have gone virally successful, what probably the through line there is it's spawning a new subgenre of copycats because it is unique and different. Even if it is mashing A and B genres together, there's something about it that is different and special. in its design.
It all boils down to creativity, really.
Mhm.
And sadly, I think that's something that gets lost on a lot of developers, is that it sometimes helps even just to get one more person involved that looks at your game and is like, you know what, that's cool and all, but maybe try to think outside the box a little bit.
Mhm.
Heck, if I take Vampire Survivors again as an example, Megabonk, right?
Yeah.
What if we took Vampire Survivors, made it 3D, and added verticality?
Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are like, ooh,
Maybe
I
add
like the
some
verticality
goofy
aspect. That's
characters.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it blew up because it's something that people are familiar with, but it was also quirky and different.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's a lot of
that's
other
a
people
risk.
that were trying to make variants that weren't as successful,
Yeah.
right? But so the novelty aspects helps a lot. Like,
It is a risk at the end of the day.
Exactly. Like something that I've been thinking about is if I think about like the games that I've played, that have been because they went viral and I wanted to get in on the thing, right? Like
Yeah.
I hadn't played very many JRPGs until I played Persona 5, for example, or I hadn't been into the Metroidvania genre until I played Outer Wilds, or there's some other good examples. Like, Free Space 2 got me into the space dogfighting sim genre, and I've been into that. Like, the thing that was interesting about all those is those were genres that I hadn't played until I played those games. And I played them because all my friends were playing them, or because I saw a lot of social media posts about them. Like, the games that go viral, not only do they capture the people who are already interested in those types of games, but they have a novelty to them that drags people from other communities that weren't previously interested and gets them interested in this new genre. Yeah, I don't know how to phrase it better, but like,
No, that makes perfect sense, yeah.
viral games aren't just, oh, I already liked, Balatro goes viral, and it's not just people who already liked playing gambling games that are playing Balatro.
Exactly.
It's a bunch of people who play first-person shooters or RPGs or whatever, and like, ooh, that looks like fun. Let me try it out. It's a new gameplay experience for me because I haven't played this sort of deck-building roguelike before. I know it's a lot of fun. Maybe I should go play other deck-building roguelikes that look unique now.
Yep. And boy, is that easier when you make your game at a good price point. An
Yes.
attractive price point. Like, I feel like Clair Obscur would not have popped off as much if it wasn't $40.
Absolutely.
If it was the price of a AAA game, like $70, it would not have been as popular.
Yeah. No one is like, especially now that like Nintendo games are like $100 and stuff,
Yeah.
right? Like it's like no one is going to be like, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy this game or not, but a lot of people are talking about it, so I guess I'll try it. No one is going to do that with a $100 purchase. But if it's like a $20 game, it's like, okay, sure, why not? All my friends said they're having fun, I might as well.
Oh my god, I promoted Clair Obscur. Am I an influencer?
By definition, yeah.
I made Yahazu buy Look Outside too. Wow.
There you go. You're influencing people.
Oh yeah, what Rillen said too about the patent locking. I really feel like game mechanics should not be allowed to be patented. And honestly, has it ever been enforced even? Other than Nintendo being a bitch?
Yeah, I was gonna say the whole Power World thing is still ongoing.
I mean, Nintendo has been getting backlash now from judges saying like, no, that patent is not valid.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, the Crazy Taxi patent was enforced quite a bit, or so I've heard. Which was having an arrow above the car to point you towards your destination. That was patented very early on by Sega, I think. And then from then on, every game had to have arrows physically in the world somewhere because they couldn't just have an arrow in the HUD.
Crazy. But hey, restriction breeds creativity, right?
It does. Like, I would say now probably the Crazy Taxi way is far inferior to the kind of in-universe GPS lines thing. Like it was just on screen a second ago. But at the time, it really did stifle a lot of other racing games.
Yeah, same thing here. If a game is over $20 on release, I always wait for a sale nowadays. Unless it's something I really want to play on release. Like, Resident Evil Requiem was different because I specifically wanted to get it for stream. That was like my big expense at the start of the year. Other than that, I'm always side-eyeing games. I'm like,
Makes sense.
Yeah, especially after getting burnt by Metroid Prime 4 last year. I think that's I think that was the final nail in the coffin for me.
Mm-hmm.
And now, unless it's a hyperfixation that I have, I'm passing.
Makes sense. Yeah, I was like, I'm not going to regret this because I know I'm going to buy Metroid Prime 4 no matter what. So I'm just going to eat the cost and assume that money's gone, whether it's good or not.
To be fair, I feel like Nintendo games are the only games where you can justify that because they never get cheaper anyways.
They never go on sale, and the used market is terrible. So, yeah. It's like you either buy it at full price or you're never going to buy it at all.
Yeah.
It's much harder to make an argument for games that routinely go on sale for 30 or 40% off.
The price point can also make for good free marketing, like of Silksong. Like, once they revealed, like, oh, it's only gonna be $20.
Exactly.
People went nuts.
61 months. That is a lot of months. Thanks to the resub Anubis.
Hell yeah,
much
Anubis.
appreciated.
Yeah,
Pokemon wasn't your video game hyperfixation, understandable.
It's an expensive hyperfixation.
It is. Pokopia was really good, though. Been having so much fun with that.
Yeah. That is another one I would have considered if it wasn't for the fact that it's full price.
Understandable. Notably not developed by Game Freak. Turns out that's the trick, huh?
It's the Koei Tecmo Dragon Quest Builders team.
It is.
I'm pretty sure.
Knocked it out of the park with that.
They've done a great job. Yeah. It's I'm gonna go back to the point of like indie games playing it too safe because some of them definitely are.
Mm-hmm.
And I really feel like, especially nowadays, we just looked at the oversaturated Steam games list, right?
Yeah.
The recent releases. You gotta make yourself stand out. You gotta take risks.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not taking risks, you might as well just stop.
Yeah, you're being dumped with 50 other games on the same day.
Yeah. It's like all the, like, oh, the 50th repo clone, great.
Mm-hmm.
That's surely gonna pop out. No, you know what people are gonna do? They're gonna play fucking repo because that game still gets updates and mod support, and why wouldn't they?
Yeah, I kind of outcompete the people that have money and are making the same game but better.
Yeah.
You gotta be making not the same game.
Yes, Sony.
It's kind of like how people are still playing like the older, like Sims 3, even though Sims 4 is out, just because Sims 3 is still the better experience. Can't even outcompete themselves.
High God came out this year.
Highguard did indeed come out this year. Are we going to talk about Crash and Burn multiplayer games?
I mean, it's technically an indie game, right?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah.
Rule number one of making an indie game: never make a game that requires you to run expensive multiplayer servers. There's just no way you're ever going to make that financially viable.
Yeah,
stop it.
I don't know if anyone remembers this, but when Palworld came out, they said that even though they made a lot of money off of it, they don't actually know how long they can keep the servers up.
Mm-hmm.
Just as a reminder.
Servers are freaking expensive, and gaming tends to attract programmers who are not very good at making optimized, efficient servers that cost less.
Oh my god. Can I just say... This is in no way a roast.
Mm.
But the people that make games, the ones that actually make the games, like the programmers, the coders, they're some of the least imaginative people I've ever met.
Can confirm, I am one.
Yeah, that's why I prefaced it, right? I don't want it to be a roast.
A little bit, but I'll take it. I agree. So hi, Oatmeal
Like-
Cookie, welcome in.
I mean, I've played your Outer Wilds mods. You're definitely creative. You know the confines that you're working in, and that is a huge deal.
I feel like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'm not gonna
Get
argue.
glazed, dumbass.
A lot of that is my creative friends who weigh in a lot with their own input. But definitely,
But see,
a lot of programmers are very literal minded. Like, okay, you
Oh,
tell
yeah.
me a mechanic, I code the mechanic. How do I turn this into like a more compelling game experience? I don't know. That's not my skill set.
and I think that is a lot of. I think that is an issue for a lot of solo developers that really just see a game as the framework and don't go beyond that.
Mhm.
That's why games that really hit it off, like, I think I want to say Look Outside was a Game Jam project, right?
Originally, yeah.
Yeah, I think when you have a simple game engine like that, it's gonna attract more creative people that don't have to sit through a lot of coding.
Absolutely.
I think that's the split. There is like the easier to understand your game engine is, the more it's gonna attract people that are not fully just programmers, that aren't just like I don't want to say robots because that's mean.
And certainly are plenty of programmers who are also good game designers, but they are two orthogonal
Exactly.
skill sets.
Yeah,
One
but
doesn't
it's
imply
rare,
the other.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I would argue most, even like AAA programmers, tend to be game designers who've learned a little bit of code rather than vice versa. So they tend not to be very
Yeah.
good programmers, but decent game designers. But
But
yeah.
I do respect the ones that recognize that about themselves and do seek out other people to add some creativity.
Mhm.
It takes a lot to be able to acknowledge that. Sadly, IRL, I've met a lot of very stubborn programmers,
Yeah.
so I have a bit of a skewed view on that. But I also know you, so there's that.
There is that.
Yeah. Oatmeal.
Yeah, Highguard is crazy. that game was
Yeah.
always doomed to fail no matter how the marketing went. But
Oh yeah.
they had some
I
very
don't think
wrong opinions about marketing.
if it hadn't been for the Game Award fiasco, I don't even think people would have checked the game out as much as they did.
No,
Like
absolutely.
at the end of the day, it was still free marketing for them.
Like, I mean, everyone watched the trailer and they're like, wow, this is generic slop.
Yeah.
Which is not what
That's-
clearly the studio thought about their own game, which means that they were very blind to their own game's failings.
I mean, they kind of deserved that it failed. The whole plan was to release an unfinished game and then finish it as people are playing it.
Which makes sense. It's a very expensive genre to compete in.
Yeah.
And they did not have a good business plan for doing so.
No. Remember what I said about you don't have to have a business degree, but maybe you should have some common sense?
Yeah. Yeah, you need a business person who can look objectively at your project and be like, no one is going to buy this unless we find a really good way to spin it.
Imagine if they had taken that budget and made an action RPG instead. That would have been cool.
Probably would have done better because they wouldn't have server costs to balance out.
There's not a lot of action RPGs with actually really satisfying siege mechanics. They could have broken a mold there.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the people who played it said there were some interesting ideas buried in there. It's
You
just
just
that
gotta know what to do with them.
it was not the most compelling hero shooter out there. And for
Yeah.
not being free to play, crazy. Same with Conquered. Like, what are you doing?
Like, I'm not much of a shooter guy, but I even want to say, like, if you look back to, like, a classic, like, Halo, from what I hear, has, like, some of the best shooting in any game. They
Historically,
still
yeah.
had to wrap that in a compelling game. Like it can only get you so far to have a satisfying game mechanic. We talked about it with Balatro too, right?
Mhm.
Like it's all about presentation.
The whole game experience has to be enjoyable. You have to be able to sell it to people easily. Machines has to look appealing, play appealingly, be both easy to understand, but also have a lot of depth. The environmental destruction mechanics locked behind the red faction patents? They are not, actually. I looked into that a while ago. The problem is that physics just don't play nice with destructible environments. Pretty much the entire modern game engine pipeline is heavily optimized towards extremely static, pre-made environments that never change, especially with lighting. Almost all lighting is pre-baked and not dynamic.
Again, that's something you could definitely compensate for if you set out a plan to make your game a bit more lo-fi.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you had something like what was it again? I talked about it earlier, Megabonk, right? Like if you had something that was aesthetically like Megabonk,
Mm-hmm.
you could absolutely get away with it being a bit more jank technology-wise.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Like
It all depends on the context.
Yeah, obviously voxel games like Pokopia have fully destructible environments, but they have very cartoony, simplified physics. Or same with like Donkey Kong Bonanza. Donkey Kong Bonanza is a very flexible voxel-based terrain system for destruction.
They found a shell that works for them.
But they do it by having the graphics and gameplay be very simplified and cartoony to balance out the complexity of the system.
Bonanza is such a smart game. Like at the end of the day, you can love the game, you can hate the game, but it is a very smartly designed game for what it is.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I honestly, I think it's the Odyssey team, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, from a technical standpoint, it's a very impressive game, especially to get it running on the Switch, too. Like, that's still only like PS4 levels of power. Whole thing in Marvel Rivals where environment breaks and then rebuilds stuff because the physics get weird and can just kill you. Yeah, game physics are basically still an unsolved problem in 2026, which is crazy to me. We're still using the same floating point math-based non-deterministic physics engines because they run fast, but they lead to a lot of very glitchy interactions. Idiot.
Video games.
Video games. Speaking of, so what's released in 2026 so far? So here's the full list. A lot of ports. A lot of ports.
A lot of ports, a lot of remakes too, interestingly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Every year everyone's like, wow, this is the year of remakes, and every year it's still the year of remakes. That's just a mainstay of the industry. There's always more games to remake, there's always more people that'll play ports and remakes. That's just how it is. I feel like it's barely even worth talking about it as a narrative anymore. It's just normal.
There's definitely an argument to be made though, because remakes have definitely been more successful than original games this year, just across the board. Like, what did we have in terms of original games? We had Pokopia, which is a spin-off of a really popular franchise. Makes sense. We had Code Vein 2, which I think a lot of people already forgot existed.
Yeah, I still haven't played it, but I've seen Girl DM streaming it, like, every week.
Yeah. We had Neo 3, which got me to finally play Neo 2, so good on them. Because the third one looks amazing. Those are the big things that came out in already existing franchises. We had a Dragon Quest VII remake from Square Enix, that sold really well. But in terms of like fully original new stuff, oh, Monster Hunter Stories 3, thank you. Yeah, that's also a good one to bring up. Resident Evil Requiem, of course, immediate darling in the community. Have a good look, Yahozu.
And Diablo 4 DLC.
Which one?
I'm just reading those lists. There's the Diablo DLC.
Right, yeah, the Diablo DLC was big.
Pragmata just came out yesterday.
Pragmata, there we go. Okay, so that is now our second big budget new franchise title of the. Actually, that's not true. Crimson Desert is not a new franchise title. That is a Black Desert spinoff.
It is.
So Pragmata really is the first big budget original game this year. Which is crazy to me.
I suppose so, yeah.
But it is already, I think because of that too, because the games journalism is hungry for new stuff. It's been doing really well already.
Oh, and I can already, yeah, the sales numbers, they've already been posting about them, they look pretty good.
Yeah. Once again, it's a game that doesn't really stretch itself too thin. It knows exactly what it is and it can sell its concept really well. The whole gimmick is it's a story-based linear third-person shooter, except rather than just shoot things, you do have to hack them in the moment to make them vulnerable.
Yeah, it seems like kind of just an evolved form of QTEs in combat.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a puzzle, right? Every combat is a little bit of a puzzle for you to solve, and that tickles some people's brains just the right way. Having played the demo, it did unlock something in my brain that no other game has done yet, really, in that form. Perfect for ADHD players, yeah, kinda. Like, it really had me thinking differently about how to approach the gameplay.
Nice.
Whether or not the actual shell of the game is interesting enough, I don't know, because I only played the demo. It seemed like there wasn't really much exploration, and as someone that really likes a Metroidvania-style approach to these kinds of games, it was a bit of a letdown. It seems fairly linear.
Yeah, it looked like a pretty linear, narrative-driven game to me.
Yeah. And it does have that, like, Capcom jank, which is appealing. Like, at the end of the day, Capcom kind of dug out their own niche. They have their own genre of video game, which is like not quite AAA, not quite AA. It's Capcom.
They talk about it being straight from the Xbox 360 era.
Yeah.
In terms of jank.
That checks out, because with the first time that Pragmata got revealed, a lot of people thought it was a Lost Planet spinoff, which is like the most 360-ass game out there. The one praise that I have seen about Pragmata is also that you're finally playing a dad-like character who doesn't hate his child.
Yeah, it's not a God of War.
Yeah. No, this
Or
time
Last
you
of Us.
already start out as a good dad. You don't have to become one over the course of the game. So that's fresh.
Yeah, definitely still continuing the overall trend, though, of kind of the parenthood as a central emotional core of the game.
I do want to say that is probably something that plays into them knowing who their audience is, because a lot of gamers nowadays that grew up with console games, they're parents now.
That's true.
That is who
Millennials
you want to
are
market
adults
to.
now. Have been for a
Recently, I want to say, I don't know if it was Yoshi P, but there was some Final Fantasy interview where they were like, we just don't know how to market our games towards the younger generation anymore. And I think that's the issue, is that you don't really want to, I don't think. Like, you already have an established fan base, and they have the money too. Like, they are the ones with jobs that can afford these games. Maybe you should try making something for them. And I think 16 was probably like the attempt to, because it is a more mature game. It also doesn't take 100 hours to beat Rebirth. So I feel like the approach was that they just failed once and then were like, okay, fuck it, we're not gonna try again.
That makes sense. I mean, even like
Yeah.
outside of games, stuff like McDonald's and other like fast food chains are all like adultifying their looks, because it's no
Yeah.
longer big families with small children that have all the spending power. It's now single adults or single child families, and it's the adults that have the money. They don't have kids that are begging them to spend the money, so you got to start catering to the adults now. not children.
Yeah. Like when you're a game developer and you have to ask yourself, like, hey, how do we capture the Fortnite crowd? You don't.
You don't.
You don't have to.
And you're not going to be able to anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Many games tried and failed on
maybe
Seed
now
Fortnite.
it's yeah, people are falling off of Fortnite, so maybe now is the time. But I don't know that you can attract them with something that's similar.
All the kids are moving to Roblox, so good luck.
Yeah. So rather than trying to get new blood in, maybe cut the cost and focus on someone who already knows about you and is happy with you.
Hmm.
I think that's the correct approach there. I mean, I get it, right? They're a business, they want to see the line go up. But I feel like there comes a point as a business where you just want things to be stable.
Hmm. Yeah, speaking of Epic Games and laying off over 1,000 employees
Yeah.
over Fortnite.
Fuck Epic Games.
Fuck Epic Games, absolutely. It's a
Yeah.
very complicated situation, and they handle it in probably one of the worst ways possible.
It
It's
is
too bad.
it is a blemish upon the industry.
Because, I mean, they're not wrong that they did run out of actual liquid cash. The problem is they did it because they were frivolously spending it on lots of things that did not pan out. Like the entire Epic
Yeah.
Game Store and the
That right there's
multi-million
the
dollar
pitfall.
lawsuit against Apple. And a bunch of other things that were not at all financially worthwhile. And then, suddenly we're out of cash now that we burned it all on things that
Oh
didn't ever
no,
make
how
money
did
back.
that happen?
Yeah, so I guess we gotta fire everyone to get back into the black.
Gotta get more brain rot skins.
Hmm. Oh yeah, it's true that Fortnite spending is significantly down, but definitely not to the point where they needed to fire 1,000 people.
No. No, especially not when your CEO still makes bank.
Yep.
You know what
Sweeney
Iwata
is
did when
one of the
Nintendo
richest-
made losses?
Yep.
He cut his own paycheck.
Oh, fun fact that I learned recently: he was actually required to do that by the board. It was not his
Oh,
decision.
great. Well, honestly, good on the board.
Mm-hmm. It's apparently established cultural practice.
Western companies just don't have the balls. It's, it's like companies in America, companies in Japan.
We live in a post-shame society, at least in the Western sphere.
Yeah. Like,
And it
they can
shows.
just get away with so much shit nowadays.
Hmm.
Because they have fuck you money.
They do. And they are no longer afraid of the populace they serve.
Yeah. But even more so am I happy that we are getting more and more circles of indie developers, we're getting more and more indie publishers. Like, we are getting to a point now where we don't have to rely on AAA publishers anymore.
Hmm.
If you're an aspiring game developer nowadays, you just came out of, like, school, you learned how to make a game, maybe see if an indie studio is hiring before you go join, like, Ubisoft or EA or something. It's
Well.
definitely more risky. But hey, at least they will treat you like a person
Maybe.
and not like an asset.
Maybe. It depends on the group.
It depends on the group, but it's also probably a better way to actually like make contacts,
Absolutely.
like actually get to know people in the industry.
AA studios are where you want to work, realistically. Because those are
AA
going to be
studios
the
are
only
where it's
places
at.
that can afford to pay you a salary, so you're not
Yeah,
living paycheck to paycheck, while also not being completely ridiculous with job security.
go to your like focus entertainments of the world.
Hmm. That's going to be the most stable, because also those types of studios spend a lot of their time doing consulting work and contract asset work for larger companies. So they have more consistent contracts than AAA studios do.
I think, honestly, when it comes to AA developers, I want to say that Don't Nod is probably a perfect example of like a game developer that's really found something that works for them and they just keep it stable. They play to the audience.
Mhm.
Like the Life is Strange games are just very popular in the niche that they're in, and they keep making them, and people are happy because they know what to expect.
Exactly. Even look at Silksong. Obviously, that's a much smaller studio, but same attitude of we made a game and we made it with the team size we wanted, and it sold a ridiculous amount of money. And rather than spending all that money trying to gamble on making a game that'll sell even more, we just made a sequel with the same team, more or less.
Yeah.
And continue
They
to
know
make
what they are.
a reasonable amount of money out of it.
The restriction then also fuels their creativity because they have that limited shell that they have to work in, but that means that they can actually do so much more with it, just creatively.
They do a lot with the budget that they have available. They get very creative with it, rather than massively expanding the budget.
Yeah, because when you have like a massive budget, when you make like a AAA game, all of a sudden all creativity flies out the window because now it can just look pretty.
Yeah, modern
Not all of
AAA
creativity,
games
but yeah,
are ludicrously expensive. Like, there's no way for GTA 6 to make its operating budget back, realistically speaking, at this point.
I don't think there's a way for GTA 6 to be good.
Yeah, I mean,
They are spending so much money on that fucking game that there's no way they're taking any risks with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I've talked about previously, but I still absolutely believe is, like, there's just no way to have a project that takes a decade and consistently have creative, innovative, involved and invested people working on it that whole time, right? Like, even if the design heads of GTA 6 were really excited about it a decade ago and sketched out some really great high-level ideas for how the game was going to be structured, how do you still maintain that motivation for 10 years to release in 2027 and you're like, oh yes, this is still an amazing idea that I'm still super hyped about? Like, no one stays hyped about the same thing for a decade unless they are unusual, you know?
Yeah.
So, of course, people are going to turn in inefficient and bland and uninteresting work by the end of that period because, I mean, why would you still be excited? That's just not how human nature works.
No, it's really not. You just grow almost... I don't know. I guess you're not really... You just grow a lot of disdain over that period of time, I would imagine.
And it's boring and tiring and soul-crushing work. Game design always has been.
Yeah.
And multiply that over an entire decade working on the same project.
Meanwhile, it seems like at least some of the studios, like the in-house studios at Nintendo, they are encouraged to be creative and really put their all into it.
And they have much shorter development cycles.
Yeah.
It's
probably more stressful.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, everyone's working crunch no matter where you are, but like the difference between working crunch on a 2-year project and working crunch on a 10-year project is a very different level of dead inside, you know?
Oh, yes. If I was a game developer and it would take 10 years for the game that I work on to come out, I would really question what I'm doing with my life.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, there's no light at the end of the tunnel if you're on year 5 and you're still cranking out generic human NPCs. Number 5,473. Yeah. And then,
again,
after that decade, you've spent hundreds of millions of dollars potentially in salaries. So you're like, okay, we got to sell a copy to every single gamer on the planet to make that operating budget back.
You gotta make that back. Gotta sell that DLC.
$100 to every average gamer, plus we need whales to spend on shark cards or whatever. It's like that's just not realistic or sustainable on any level.
Absolutely, yeah.
Whereas the more successful
really
studios are doing
know.
like 2 or 3 year projects still.
This is what project management is all about. You gotta figure that shit out before you even start making it.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have to know what you work with. Honestly, limitless budget is the enemy of video game design.
Absolutely. We're just not cut out for long form projects.
Yeah.
And you can throw more and more content at it, but unless that content serves a important creative purpose, it's just wasting time and effort. How's talking is going all right as usual. Like, this is a kind of a side discussion, but like asset reuse, right? Like every single time they release a new Call of Duty or whatever, they've made the same crates from scratch 30 times over. It's like, that was not useful work. They could have reused the crates from last game just fine, and no one would have cared. Except for people who are looking for reasons to hate the game anyway. But no one actually played the game would care.
I really do encourage more asset reuse within a studio, because ultimately, yeah, there's gonna be people online that are gonna criticize and they're like, oh, that's just the same assets as in the last game. How lazy. But the real ones know that it doesn't matter.
As long as the overall creative vision is unique enough. Right?
Yeah,
that's the distinction factor. Like,
brings up my usual point.
yeah. Because like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask are very different games. Obviously, there is some texture model reuse, but it's a completely different story with its own structure, with different gameplay mechanics and upgrades and items. Like, it's just the unimportant parts that are reused.
Exactly.
And like, they tried that with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. And absolutely, like, I think Tears of the Kingdom is worth it as a standalone game based on the new mechanics that they introduced. That does substantially change how the game plays. I do think they underutilize those mechanics, and that's why the game is underwhelming, but I don't think the asset reuse per se was the problem. There's just a lack of creativity with the stuff they did introduce.
Yeah, that's what it boils down to at the end of the day, is how creative can you be with the assets you already have. Same with engine reuse, right? Like, if you look at Capcom again, they've done everything that they've done in the last, I want to say, almost decade with the in-house RE engine, and it's jank at times, like with Dragon's Dogma 2, where the engine isn't really made for the type of game that they wanted to make. But it's their engine, they know how it works, they're familiar with it, so the development time is a lot shorter. The upcoming Castlevania games made by... I don't remember who it was. I want to say it was the Dead Cells developers. Maybe they just publish it, but already having that like really successful actiony Metroidvania shell and then being able to slap a Castlevania skin on it is a smart idea. Use what you have.
Absolutely. As long as the game itself is creative enough to stand on its own with the reuse. That's the trick.
Yeah.
Right?
I think the most infuriating thing I've actually heard in a game interview at one point was I want to say it was the director of the PlayStation Spider-Man games talking about like how much he wanted to take advantage of the huge budget and put like all this shit in. And I feel like that killed the creativity of it. It's like, you've been greenlit for this game and you kind of just ran away with it. I don't know.
Yeah. Now, the more people you pull on and the bigger budget you have to spend, that means the more things you have to lock in from the very start. You have to have a clear plan and design already figured out. You got to know what levels you're creating, what enemies are going to be in those levels, what skills you're going to have, what animations you need. Which means that if your first draft of the design sucks, you have no flexibility to go back and fix it. Because you've already locked into all these people working on all these assets. So you just have very little creative freedom to pivot if the design is not working. And you may not even know until years in if your design relies on all that content being there in the first place.
Mm-hmm. The game industry probably moved on since then.
Mm-hmm.
In ways that you can't even predict. Like, at the end of the day, again, it just boils down to like long development cycles just not being sustainable.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And the whole Spider-Man thing in particular, they had a great game with the first Spider-Man that they released on PlayStation 4. But then when they made the sequel, they built everything up again from the ground up. Like, they reinvented the fucking wheel with that game.
For no reason. When they could have just built on top of what they had.
They could have built on top of what they already had, yeah. Like, I recognize, like, we have in chat here, like, House points out that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom just reused the same map. And they would have done the same thing in Spider-Man with New York, right? Because there's only one New York that you can copy, realistically.
Yeah.
I don't think people would have minded in the context.
As long as there are new things to do in that version of New York.
Yeah. Like, honestly, you know how much I would love to play a game sequel that just lets me continue where I left off with the previous game?
Mm-hmm.
In something I'm already familiar with? Like, again, Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time, right? It's such a natural progression going from Ocarina of Time to Majora's Mask that it feels cohesive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Like, they're very different games, but I can be like, oh my god, yeah, I get to play more of this game that I like.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than having a coin flip like, oh, I really liked Horizon Zero Dawn. Forbidden West isn't really doing it for me because they tried to just do a whole new thing with it.
Mm-hmm. It's too different. And what is new isn't that interesting, comparatively.
Too much time in between the games, too.
Mm-hmm. That, too. I think, like, the Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom thing for me, circling back to that a little bit since they're discussing it in chat. Like, I think the environment use would have been perfectly fine if they recontextualized more how you interact with the environment. I think a lot of the reason that it doesn't land as well as it could have is because there are a lot of quests and exploration you do in Tears of the Kingdom, which is just climbing cliffs in the rain on foot. Just like you did in Breath of the Wild, which was alright the first time and is much worse the second time around.
It sounds exhausting.
But they have this whole vehicle building and contraption building set up. So imagine if there was actually, like, compelling design around building vehicles to traverse the terrain. So instead of climbing those cliffs, you're building mechanisms to fly above them or to drive around up dunes and stuff. Then it wouldn't have been as bad that you're exploring the same terrain because you're exploring it a different way. Right? And instead...
Are you telling me... Are you telling me that Tears of the Kingdom is a nuts and bolts like?
I think if they leaned into being a nuts and bolts like, it would have been a significantly better sequel, personally.
Huh.
Granted, I love nuts and bolts, so I'm biased, but, like... Like, it felt very grafted onto the gameplay when it could have been much more compelling if they leaned into it more. And instead, parts of the game end up feeling much more just like more Breath of the Wild, but without any new things to explore. If they get auto-build off the rip with more material platforms and blueprints would have been way better. Yeah, I agree. You didn't have to farm Zonite to do auto-build if you could just pop out contraptions wherever. I think that would have significantly improved the game.
Yeah.
Or, like, imagine if it was like a racing game, even. If they had, like, racing sections where you have to, like, build cars and race them across places that you previously explored on foot. I think that would have been compelling. It would have been a very different game. But I think that would have been a good way to reuse assets. I'm playing a lot of Zenless Zone Zero still, and that is something that they do well that I think that I really enjoy about it for all, like, the seasonal events and things. Is they've got all these enemy models and animations and everything, and all these Bang Boo and their animations. So they have all these art assets already existing. So to stretch them out and make them more interesting, they have all these seasonal events that are like, okay, you're fighting the same enemies, but now it's a tower defense game. or now it's an auto chess game, or now it's a deck builder, right? So they take the same enemies that you already know how to fight and are already familiar with, but then they make the gameplay unique. And I mean, not everyone enjoys those modes, but as far as like a way to take all the assets they've already made and reuse them without having to spend a ton of money creating entirely new assets from scratch every time, I think it's a very smart way to stretch out the content and reuse it in a smart way.
It's incredibly smart. Yeah, that is smart game design right there. Like, use what you have.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm hearing is basically that Echoes of Wisdom is a better Tears of the Kingdom.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of
Because I
ways.
feel like that one does the whole, like, creative solve the puzzles in any way you want thing really well. I haven't played it. I really should, because I would love that game, I think.
It's very fun. It's very cute.
Yeah.
Very easy to
And
break.
it reuses the Link's Awakening engine, right?
It does, yeah, the game engine itself. Is a
Again,
Unity,
smart
if I
thing to
remember
do.
correctly.
Like, we really don't need to... I miss numerized sequels.
Mm-hmm. You don't get very many of them anymore.
No. I think that's why I really enjoyed Final Fantasy XIV when I finally checked it out the last couple of years, is because every expansion felt like I was playing a new game, but in an engine I was already familiar with, because that's exactly what it is. It's just, hey, doofus, here's another 40 hours of the game you love.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's really nice.
wish more games did that approach, honestly.
Yeah. It's a shame they don't sell well enough, because
No.
I really do miss the era of the content DLC. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
we spent all this time developing this whole game. Now we're just gonna make a few more quests and a few more levels, and here you go. Here's another 5 hours of experience in the same world for $20. Which is kind of what sequels were doing even before that,
Yeah.
when you had like annual releases.
I would love seeing more of that as like a regular thing until the next fully new game comes out, right? Like
Yeah.
during the
Doesn't have to be an
development
addition.
process.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately, I think the market in practice doesn't support that. Like,
It does
almost no
not.
one's bought the new Starfield DLC, even though it's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I think that's again a symptom of the game industry just being stretched too thin. We have too many games, so we can't really invest too much time in a single game
Yeah.
to expand on that.
That is very true.
Yeah.
If you're not a live service game, you can't afford to keep producing content and selling it.
Exactly, because the Hoyoverse games can absolutely do that, because they have their own market niche for that. Zenless keeps getting story updates on a regular, right? Every 3 months,
Mhm.
you get more game.
Because they've got millions and millions of players logging in daily to play it.
Yeah.
Whereas, like,
And that
Arknights
to me-
Enfield, which is another live service Genshin-like game, is not doing very hot, and is going to have to start slowing down their content drops.
Yeah, exactly. You can always tell how well a game is doing by, like, the speed of the content drops.
Hmm. Whether they can afford to have a full-time staff producing them or not.
It's crazy, too, because that was always my dream as a gamer, was, like, never having to stop the game that I'm hyperfixated on.
Some games
But then
you
I
can.
did eventually like get burned out on Zenless a year in. I think I want to say that that's only really because they fully abandoned the whole TV system, which is what I started the game in the first place.
I'm very disappointed
I
by
was
that.
one of the few that enjoyed that.
Because that's another area where they did really smart asset reuse to stretch out content.
Yeah,
Like, I could definitely tell that was part of their main original design was, okay, we can just have a bunch of designers cranking out these TV mode little mini quests and adventures just constantly. Because they're pretty low budget, pretty easy to make.
and I
And now
really
that
liked that.
everything
It
has
was
to be
fun
full
and
3D
creative.
environments. They just has significantly slowed down their quest drops.
And I want to say the story missions have also gotten a lot shorter since then because of that. Like, you have like a few enemy encounters and then cutscene, and that's it.
Hmm.
I will say areas like, I want to say Illinois kind of help giving you like a big area to explore.
Hmm.
Or the one that was like in 2.0, the big one.
Yeah, like Yaz did the Lemnian Hollow stuff. It's good.
Yeah,
The problem is those take many, many more artists and many more months to create than the TV mode quest
Yeah.
did. So they can't roll those out anywhere near as fast as they could with the TV mode quests. And it's just the reality of the production cycle. Yeah, as Real says,
yeah.
this is where AI could come into play, as AI can produce content quickly, especially content that is unimportant and uninteresting. And
But
we're
then do you want to
absolutely
play
gonna
that
see-
content?
that's going to be the open question, I think, once these AAA AI generated games start hitting the market, because it's coming. It hasn't happened yet, but it's coming for sure.
Yeah.
Like I've been
'Cause I feel
following
like-
the tech side of things, and like they've got fully animated and textured and rigged characters completely AI generated now. Like you can pretty much produce
Yeah.
an entire game's art assets without any human involvement, which is going to release a ton of slop on the on Steam and other asset stores. But it's coming, and AAA companies are the ones pushing for this. So we're absolutely going to see some games that are 80% AI slop art.
So I have two big questions about this topic, especially now that you bring up AAA games supporting that.
Mhm.
My first question is, at what point are we just playing games for the sake of playing games? Because that's kind of what it sounds like. Like, oh, I need to occupy my brain, so I'm just gonna play some slop real quick. As opposed to, oh, I really want to have an enjoyable gaming experience.
Well, I mean, if we look at like video form content as an example, TikTok has lots of extremely popular AI slop content creation channels. Or like Spotify is completely overrun by AI generated music. I think
Oh god, yeah.
there are a significant amount of people that do not genuinely care as long as they're entertained.
I think that once again is a symptom of our times. I think people are glued to the screens too much.
So yeah, when your expectation is to be constantly exposed to some form of entertainment, even if it's low quality entertainment, then I think
Yeah.
you're going to see a very high tolerance towards low quality entertainment.
I mean, it's the same with the news if we want to go like fully granular. Like, when you're a news outlet, you're expected to post news every day. Not even every day anymore, every hour, right? Because people
Yeah.
are constantly bored, they're constantly looking on their phones, they need something new every fucking seconds of their lives.
Mhm.
And that's very unhealthy.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not on
24/7.
social media.
24/7 news channels running stories literally every moment outside of ads.
Yeah. To the point where now they have to make shit up to have new content, right?
Hmm.
Or like oh my god, there's certain game news outlets where the reporting is, this might be someone's idea for a game.
Yeah.
This is what this interview would have been like if we had gotten the person in an interview, but instead AI recreated this interview for us.
I forgot about that. That is such a wild story. They wanted to interview the guy,
Yeah.
but he wasn't available, so they just fed all his social media posts into ChatGPT and said, "Okay, pretend you're him," and had the interview that way.
Crazy. Crazy to me.
Very poorly done.
The other big question I have about the AI generative video games,
Mhm.
wouldn't we reach a point where players just make their own games in AI and play those rather than play whatever AAA churns out?
I think, well, yes and no. From what I've seen in the AI image communities, for example, I think there are a lot of people that are like, who are willing to put up with the limitations of self-produced AI content. That there are a significant, but a small but a significant number of people who, yeah, pretty much are like, oh, I don't need other people to produce content for me anymore. I can just produce an infinite amount of whatever I want. And they do tune out kind of the wider markets. I don't think we're going to see that with games as a whole, just because of the expenses of producing your own games using AI. Currently, especially like the character modeling and animation stuff requires very intensive hardware that most consumers are not going to have access to, and they are very expensive to rent with the current AI craze. So AAA companies absolutely have the resources to mass produce AI content, but I think you'll see higher quality, more gameplay intensive games will be out of reach of the average consumer unless there's a major technical breakthrough. So I think you'll see a lot of like kind of, RPG Maker or visual novel style AI slop games that people just produce for themselves or for their own niche sub-communities. I think that's absolutely going to happen and going to take over a lot of things. I don't think you're going to see very many competing in like the AA or AAA spaces. Unless there's a major breakthrough, which can happen.
Out.
Like just recently there's a breakthrough that allows coding AI to be viable on consumer GPUs. So it's possible.
Right.
There's a technical breakthrough that allows for it. There isn't one yet.
I think at least long-term AAA wouldn't want that technology to be out there though, right?
They definitely don't want it to be democratized. They don't want to be competing with other people for their AI slop content. And I think a lot of obviously most of the games aren't out yet, so there's not a lot of public material on how AAA is using AI. But from what I've read, a lot of them are making their own proprietary technologies or training the AI on their own internal assets that they've already created. So I think they do have kind of an edge, leg up on other people in terms of the AI that they do have access to. But,
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a tool that you need to know how to use.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a substantial thing that most people miss about AI. Like, I see a lot of people that are like, oh, I don't see as many AI posts as like when, Midjourney or one of the earlier image generators was going wild and everyone is posting AI everywhere. Well, the answer is not because there's less AI art. It's because they've gotten better to the point where you can't tell.
Yeah.
And the people that you see that are like, oh, that is obvious AI junk art, are the people who aren't caring or aren't technically proficient with AI enough to make it look good. There is a big gulf in quality and in the obviousness of the AI between people who intentionally go out of their way to hide that it's AI versus the people that are just dumping whatever slop they generate off the first attempt onto the internet.
It's kind of funny. Like, in my opinion, if you're working hard enough that you try to hide that something's made in AI, I feel like you put enough work into it that you can just be like, yeah, this is my own thing again.
To some degree.
I don't know. To some degree, yeah.
I think that is...
Like, I'd rather have that than just a lazy slop, right?
Mm-hmm. It's certainly not everyone's attitude towards AI, but I do see a lot of that like... Not to say that it's an art form, obviously, in the same sense that actually making the art is an art form, right?
Yeah,
but there is a skill to making higher quality AI outputs compared to low quality AI outputs. There is things you can learn and improve on to improve the output of the AI. I don't think anyone's getting hired as a prompt engineer or whatever, but it is a skill set, I would argue. And it is very clear when the skill set is being employed versus not.
It is I think that's the main difference. It is a new skill set that people have to accept, I guess.
And
it's definitely gonna carve out its own niche, like in the same way that in the past other technologies came around that made others obsolete, and people had to learn that technology, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're not forced as an artist to use those tools at all. It just sucks to see people that abuse those tools, I guess, is my point.
Absolutely. So to clarify for the people in your chat who may not know my personal stance on AI, if I could wave a magic wand and just make all of this modern AI revolution disappear, I would. I think it is incredibly damaging to our society and culture. But from a purely programmer-minded, creative person, outlet-minded person, I find the technology itself to be interesting, even if the moral implications of the technology are problematic. And I think it is foolish to not inform yourself about it when it is going to dramatically reshape culture in the way it is. So that's my personal stance on it. And while I don't condone the way it's replacing or supplanting human art, I do seek to engage with it. If that makes sense.
If I can add my own 2 cents to that, I also kind of want to just move away from the buzzword AI for a second. I think machine learning specifically is very important for our society.
Oh, absolutely. It is doing great work in the medical imaging industry. And
yes, like there is an application for it.
Yeah, exactly. And I've seen some really cool stuff with Gaussian splatting as the technique, but basically being able to take a camera walkthrough of a place and project it into 3D in a way that's really high fidelity. And that uses some of the same techniques as AI art, but it's kind of more of an advanced form of photography, really. It's not replacing human art. What it is improving the ability to do 3D photography. And I think that's really cool. But, yeah.
I mean, that's the same thing that we just had with, what is it? The SSL5.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we had the frame generation for machine learning, which was a really good tool for graphic design and fidelity. But then they decided, like, hey, let's promote this thing with, like, an AI slop filter instead.
Yeah. That was really funny.
That is the perfect comparison of, like, good use of AI and bad use of AI right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they're fundamentally based on the same techniques, actually. Like, current DLSS4 or whatever is a stable diffusion-based AI image generation filter. But because it's working on such a low count of pixels, it's not usually producing details out of thin air. It's kind of just filling in micro detail on top of the already existing creative output the dev team has produced. Whereas the the demo they showed was running on a much higher level and wholesale changing the art style. But fundamentally, it was the same technique, just very misused.
Yeah. One thing that we can probably agree on, though, is again, I think the problem is we use the term AI for too many things.
Absolutely.
It's not a good umbrella term because machine learning and large language models, for example, are very different things.
They are. A lot of them are trained with machine learning techniques, but...
Yeah. We need to stop saying AI bad and be more specific.
And even the same techniques can be used in different ways that are harmful or not harmful. Like, the current medical imaging stuff with machine learning is the same fundamental techniques as the AI-generated anime waifus. It's still diffusion-based technology. But obviously one is much more beneficial to society than the other.
I'm sorry, but I only want my anime waifus to be handcrafted, thank you.
Yeah, thankfully they haven't replaced Live 2D yet. If they were not drawn by a
sweaty old pervert, I don't care.
I know quite a few people
there's
that would
plenty
object
of women
to
that draw
description.
hot anime girls.
Half my Twitter feed is Live 2D rigging and character artists. And I think I would object to that. Thankfully that has not been automated, but they are certainly trying.
Oh... Are they trying? Are they ever trying?
Yeah, just a few weeks ago, they released another AI model that replaces the part where you have to cut up the image into Photoshop layers so the Live 2D can rig the layers separately. There's now an AI model for that. So, yippee. It'll save a lot of riggers' time. but it does remove a lot of the human craft from that step of the production pipeline.
How long until the internet is only bots?
We're already most of the way there.
Huh.
I feel like every single social media post I look at, 80% of the comments are clearly ChatGPT. And I have to wonder how much that remaining 20% is just ChatGPT. I can't tell the difference.
Yeah. Maybe it's time to like go outside for a bit.
Look outside, maybe?
Breathe in some fresh air.
Touch some grass.
Touch some grass, yeah. Maybe support an indie RPG developer.
There you go.
Yeah.
There will always be people who are doing handcrafted stuff. Definitely support them.
Yeah, don't go on social media. Don't ruin your brain like that. Actually, don't absorb all the negativity on social media. I think that's the bigger issue. I think the most upsetting thing I've seen in a while is someone saying that a game is bad because it had, God. Like, AI-controlled opponents? Like, no, we just always called that AI. The AI in games has been a thing since it was handcrafted.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what that means. It doesn't mean generative.
And I don't know any games that are using machine learning for their NPC behavior. Very, very different techniques.
Yep. Like, we used to say, like, 2 decades ago, like, oh, the AI in this game is really good. It meant a very different thing.
Didn't mean AI-generated posters. It meant scripted NPC behavior. Written by a human, by hand.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, man.
I don't know
so much code is written by AI. And as one industry that has just completely given up on pushing back at all against computer-generated stuff is programming. Like, I feel like still with art, I do see a lot of protest against AI-generated imagery in most communities. There's nothing like that for programming. I mean,
I think you mean vibe coding.
It's all vibe coding.
Yeah.
Even at my day job, I am essentially mandated to vibe code most of my work. Like, it's everywhere. It's very pervasive, and it's producing a ton of terrible code. But
isn't it more work to fix that code at this point?
If you want to fix it in place, yes. What companies are moving towards is just producing new features from scratch over and over again and abandoning them without maintaining them. So, there's a bug. That's too bad. Maybe the next time we generate a new app from scratch, that one will have a different bug. Now, there's just a complete lack of care for the quality of the software. And I think gaming industry, even more than everything else, is going to especially hit that hard. Like, most studios already treat programmers as an expense that they would prefer to be rid of. So if they can hire 3 programmers instead of 4 and have them produce code that is worse but still ships when it comes time to ship, then they don't care.
Support your local indie developer.
Absolutely. That's always the takeaway.
Yeah, that's always the takeaway here.
I mean, when you can just make a new one, same thing they have into clothing maintenance. Exactly. Yeah, this one will be crap, but that doesn't matter because we can produce new crap tomorrow. Yeah, vibe coding gives you... Vibe coding AIs are trained on the average programmer's output. And the average programmer is new to the industry and not very good at it. So you can anticipate what the average programmer's output would look like if fed into an AI and spat back out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, fun times. Fun times.
Well, I have hope in humanity, and I think all of this is going to be healing at some point. Once we get over the hump of large corporations seeing a buzzword and trying to milk the shit out of it, I think things are going to be okay again, and they'll find something new to hold on to.
Once the
You know?
American stock market collapses, everything will be fine.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Pretty much the takeaway.
Yeah. I think there's always hope.
Mhm.
I still believe that at the end of the day, hard work is going to persevere. We as a species have lived for millennia, and this is not going to be our downfall.
Society will
Global
survive one
warming
way or
is.
another. That will be very different from how it is today, one
Uh-huh.
way or another. We're probably living in the most eventful society in all of human history. Isn't that fun?
Yeah, it's an up and down for sure. I, for one, I'm the kind of person who just lives in the now and tries to enjoy every moment as much as I can while I have it.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
A model collapse, that is a problem.
Sora is gone. That's a good thing.
Sora is
right?
gone because there was no way they're ever gonna make money back on that.
I'm still wondering how, like, any of the LLM stuff is gonna make money back from that.
It doesn't, and it won't. It is
Yeah.
so
Google,
ridiculously
maybe.
expensive. No. Everyone is losing money on it. Boatloads of money. They are burning piles of cash as we speak. I've looked into it, just like the sheer cost of the hardware far, far, far outstrips what they're charging for it for any of these AI platforms. It's just there's no way to make that profitable. You would have to get like the average person, the average office worker, to sign up for a $100 subscription, like every single office worker to sign up for a $100 yearly subscription to maybe make it make sense. And there's no way that's happening. Yeah, there's all kinds of politics around it, and it's gonna continue to be a mess.
Yeah,
that is the saving
we live
grace.
in a weird time.
Like, I've got like a $1,600 video card, and there's no way that video card can produce enough AI content to serve what I would need to use it for if I was using it full time for programming.
Yeah.
Multiply that by everyone on the planet. It's just not going to happen. But yeah, getting off the AI topic, let's see. Now, were there any other 2026 games to talk about? Let's see.
I can shout some indie games out real quick if that's alright.
Sure.
Specifically RPGs, because that is like my main focus right now, is that I just really think that's the niche I want to support in the long run.
Makes sense.
Like, Look Aside obviously kind of reinvigorated that, but also last year Clear Obscure, the year before that Metaphor Fantasia, not an indie RPG, but definitely made me want to check out more RPGs again, because I feel like there's still enough space in that genre that is very hard to do as an indie developer. It used to be easier when people were just doing it for fun, but now of course people are trying to like monetize it, which I understand. So the first game I want to shout out is one that I've played the demo of a month ago, is People of Note, the new Annapurna published turn-based RPG / musical.
Oh, yeah.
It still has some of the audio issues that I pointed out in the demo, where anytime that there's voice dialogue, the music gets quieter, which is a bit jarring, especially in a game that's so focused on music. But everything else around the game is beautiful and inspired and creative.
Nice.
Like, this is a game directed by a dude who really just wanted to like bring back the PlayStation 1 RPG classics in a new in a new shade of color, I guess, would be the best way to put it.
Mhm.
And it really does a good job at that. It has like the fixed camera angles you would expect from like an older Final Fantasy game.
Yeah.
It has a really satisfying and surprisingly deep turn-based combat system. It doesn't quite go in down the rabbit hole of like the what are they called in Clair Obscur? The things you can toggle on and off in the character menu that you can permanently unlock.
I like the Pictos or whatever.
The Pictos, thank you. Yes, yeah, it doesn't go as deep as that, but it has something that's fairly similar. Just a bit more restrictive, maybe.
Makes sense. I mean, Clair Obscur is probably more flexible than most JRPGs on that front.
Yeah. Plus, this one has actual puzzle dungeons. We love puzzle dungeons.
We do love puzzle dungeons.
The voice acting's incredible. They got a great cast. They got great singers as well, which is important for a music-based RPG. The only the only thing I don't like about the game is that it feels a bit full of itself at times. But I think it kind of has to. Like, it's so over the top that it kind of has to be full of itself.
I wouldn't want a game like this to be subdued and understated.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It knows exactly what it is. And like I said earlier at the beginning of this conversation, as an indie developer, you have to understand what you are. So,
Absolutely.
Technical flaws aside, this is, especially for the price point of like $25, I think, currently, this one is worth grabbing, even if it's just to support a really well thought out indie RPG.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
It's woke as hell too, if y'all care about that.
As you should.
Speaking of woke, the other game I want to call out is... Oh, okay. I need to... Okay, Dosa Divas. DOSA DIVAs.
Got it.
This is also a new indie turn-based RPG with cooking.
Nice.
It's got like cooking mini games that you can do, and there's like quests where you have to cook for people, but also you have to beat up the evil corporation that's trying to get rid of cooking.
Nice.
It's very Cassette Beast in that regard, in the way that the plot pans out. Very Stardew Valley almost. With like, oh, evil corpo, evil. But the character designs are all super creative. They can be a bit hit or miss depending on like how you feel about the art style. But it goes places where the people that you're fighting are just like bureaucrats, salespeople.
Nice.
That are like mechanized.
Classic
And it's really fun. It's got a...
Yeah.
Nona's becoming a robot. Now.
Are you?
According to chat, I am.
A little bit.
Does it still sound fine to you? Huh.
Mostly. You're picking up a little bit.
I see
even
the
register.
connection dipping a bit, yeah. It is that time of the day.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Still sound perfectly understandable on my end. I didn't even notice until they pointed it out.
Okay. Well, either way, like, the only thing I really wanted to add to that was that it's got the Mario RPG / Paper Mario style combat with the, like, timing triggers.
Makes
But
sense.
in a way that's very accessible. Like, it does help you. It has, like, a visual indicator of, like, when you should press the button. But if you hit it even more precisely, it rewards you even more for it. So
Nice.
it's got, like, a little bit of wiggle room there.
That's a good way to do it. Yeah, I was playing Mario RPG on the Virtual Console on Switch, and the timings are really hard to get down without a more clear visual indicator of when to press A.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm just bad at rhythm
I will
games.
say,
so-
though, the parry and Clair Obscur still feels really fucking satisfying.
Good sound design, good animation design.
Yeah. Which is important for this kind of game. Like, you really want to be able to stand out.
Absolutely. I feel like I've seen a lot of rhythm-based games lately, so like it is starting to become more of a competition to make sure that the design is a cut above average there.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of, the music in those Sativas is also fantastic.
Nice.
And once again, a like $20 RPG. Can't really go wrong with that if you just want to try new RPGs that are made by people you don't know yet.
And it does have a free demo.
It does have a free demo, which I have played, and it's really fun. Thankfully, this one actually starts you at the beginning of the game and not in the middle of it.
Nice. So you're not completely overwhelmed.
Yeah, that was my issue, I think, with the People of Note demo, was that it just starts you in, like, Chapter 2.
So you don't have full context for what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find that whole design problem is actually kind of interesting to me. Because it's always like, well, I can't start at the beginning for my demo because the game has such a slow start. I'm like, well, maybe that's your problem then. Maybe your game shouldn't have such a slow start. If you want to get people hooked and engaged. Yeah. If you can't sell people on your gameplay in the first half hour, maybe your first half hour isn't fast enough.
And I funnily enough, I have played the first half hour of not Look Outside, People of Note, and it is good enough. They could have easily done that. I don't know why they didn't.
Yeah.
But that might have been out of the hands. That might have been an Epernus decision at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, with a publisher like that, you're not going to have as much control over how your game is marketed and sold.
Yeah.
Yeah, Persona games where it takes 2 hours before you have gameplay, yep.
Oh, yeah. Then again, Metaphor did the demo thing where you start at the beginning, and it kind of worked for them. But also that game gets you into the gameplay much faster.
Exactly. It's an important thing to do.
Yeah, if we can actually look up the game that Rillian pointed out, Neverway. That is not out yet, that is coming out later this year, but that is another RPG to look forward to in the indie space. Very beautiful visuals.
Very, low color palette, indie.
Yeah, I almost equate it to, like, Happy Light Drifted was more high-res.
They kind of have the same, like, limited color palette aesthetic.
Yeah.
Use color for high contrast.
Yeah, that's another one that's been on my radar for a while. It's really intriguing.
Looks spooky.
Oh, yeah.
Nightmarish.
Like, this is right up my alley.
Nice. That looks interesting.
Yep. Speaking of Among Us, yeah, this is an Outer Slav published game. So is Those Sativas.
Nice. I'm glad they're spending some of that viral money on endorsing good projects.
And that's really the main things I wanted to shout out. Just some cool RPGs.
Nice. I have not been looking into or playing very many games in 2026 yet, so I don't have much to shout out.
Yeah. Oh, one that I haven't checked out yet, but one that I kind of slept on at first, and now that the sequel is out, I do want to check out, is a Metroidvania called Grime. Grime 2 just released, and it looks pretty sick, especially if you're into, like, the biopunk sci-fi aesthetic. It reminds me a lot of, like, Metroid Dread in a way, just with less technology, if that makes sense.
Interesting.
It definitely has that, like, 2.5D approach that Metroid Dread does really well. Like, I look at this kind of game and I'm like, that's an Oshu game.
Makes sense. Definitely feels like an Oshu game. That is very Metroidvania.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, this one looks more biopunk, which is fun.
Yeah.
Nice.
Blasphemous if it was about parasites rather than religion.
Yeah, pretty much. Different aesthetic, but
Yeah.
similar side-scrolling Metroidvania gameplay.
I just always really like shouting out some indie games at the end of these talks,
Mhm.
because we need to get more eyes on the games that actually do something creative.
Absolutely. Calamity Angels.
Oh yeah, Calamity Angels, not an indie game, but
That's in there.
it's a miracle these days that Compile Heart and Idea Factory are releasing anything new.
Mm-hmm.
That's not Hyperdimension Neptunia.
They've been struggling, so it's good to see them have some projects
Yeah.
that get some attention. Pokemon Champions, I've heard that's a vibe-coded mess, so that's fun.
Yeah. Prove You're Human. Oh right, the capture solving game.
Mm.
Kind of reminds me of the games that try to emulate the fake game ads that you get on mobile a lot. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, we made this game, but for real.
Mm-hmm. Because they were just like Blender animations or something.
There's definitely a niche for that, yeah.
And that's the kind of thing that's like, even if it's not a good game, it is a good thing to like get attention on social media and get people to play your game.
Yeah.
It's an interesting narrative to sell.
Yes, Yahazu, thank you. I fully recommend anyone to check out 1000X Resist. That game is not much of a game as it is just an experience. That's not a new one that came out like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
But
the gameplay
it's
is whatever, but the story is
such an-
good. Yeah.
It's
Decent.
such an interesting look into the human psyche.
Mm. And one of those ones
Uh,
that's heavily driven by the author's personal experiences.
Oh yeah.
It's very interesting.
One new one I can in fact still shout out would be, if anyone here is into Where's Waldo or hidden object games, Lost and Found Co. came out, and that one looks really cute.
Nice. You were saying there weren't very many AAA games, but Resident Evil Requiem was in February.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was the big release so far this year.
Crimson Desert.
Esoteric Ebb is another one to look into if anyone's into stuff like Disco Elysium, but wants a D&D fun fantasy approach for that type of game.
Nice.
Esoteric Ebb is basically that you play as a I believe you play as a cleric, but your inner voice is basically trying to like sabotage you along the way. It's very Disco Elysium in that way, where you kind of have to fight against the inner demons.
Nice.
It's all completely roll and dialogue based.
That's a lot of fun.
Dice roll and dialogue based, I want to specify.
Disco Elysium, like, it's a funny concept.
Yeah.
I do enjoy that the tabletop is having more of a resurgence, and that's also impacting games in some ways. Mugenics, that was this year too. Neo 3.
Yeah, Mugenics is another very, like, long project. I think he's been working on that for over 10 years or something.
Sounds about right. Very much has the humor of its time.
Yeah.
High Guard. Yeah, there was only... How long did High Guard last? It was 45 days. Okay, that's longer than I remembered.
Longer? Was that longer than Concord?
Yeah, but not by much.
Yeah.
Concord was like 2 weeks or
such
something
a-
crazy.
It's such a shame, because if you're a developer who worked on Titanfall, I don't think that's how you want to be remembered.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
They were expecting
Or even
their
Apex Legends, right?
yeah they were expecting their work on Apex Legends to magically make their game profitable, and that's just not how the industry works. They were gonna shadow drop their game, which is insane.
It really is only so much goodwill you can build up in the game industry, because gamers are maybe the most vicious consumer base you can find.
Oh yeah,
The most resentful, too.
they're very willing to be vitriolic on the internet.
Yeah.
Make your life hell if they didn't like your game for any petty reason.
It's very hard to come back once you have the reputation in the gaming space. It took Capcom a while to recover from back when it was called Crapcom.
Mm-hmm.
I still remember that time very well.
Yeah, games being $100,
Oh.
you're quite correct. That only works for Nintendo. You can look at Neo 3 for that. Yep.
Yeah.
If it's known that your games will sometimes go on sale, then you will never be able to sell a game at full price past a certain point.
I think Atlas recently said something to the degree of they don't want to make like enhanced versions of the games anymore because people just wait for those.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that's also why Koei Tecmo stopped doing that with the Dynasty Warriors games.
Yep. They realized not a huge amount of people, but some people will just wait, and that means your game never gets bought if you don't do it.
And
You're gonna do it
honestly,
for a while.
kudos to them. They're not churning them out as quickly anymore. Like Dynasty Warriors Origins clearly had a lot of thought and work put into it.
Mm-hmm.
It probably helped that they got like deals with Nintendo to get like Hyrule Warriors and Fire Emblem Warriors out and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Also, they have multiple internal teams that were working on some of those spin-offs in parallel,
Yeah.
whereas their main team takes a little bit longer. Like, they were also working on Three Houses, and now the new Fire Emblem as well, on top of their Dynasty Warriors games.
I take my statement from earlier back. The gaming community is not the most visceral fan base I know. Adult animation
Okay.
takes the cake.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Man, fuck those guys.
As
a fan of animation, I cannot engage with those community circles because people are either insane or stupid.
Yeah, you simply can't judge any work by their community because in any sufficiently large community, there will be enough people ruining it for everyone else.
Oh yeah.
And it's like
and it's always the loudest
nature.
ones.
Yeah. Like, anytime you get more than like 20 people in a room, there will be someone who's annoying enough to drag down the mood for everyone else.
Yeah.
It's just like a law of human nature. Multiply that by people with poor social skills on the internet. And no shade to them because our society is not set up to teach social skills very well anymore.
No.
But when you get enough people with poor social skills in a room, it causes issues.
Same Yahazu, same. I tried to stay out of fandoms just because it's just debate after debate for something that might not even be finished yet.
Mm-hmm. Even like the Outer Wilds community, which is on the whole one of the most chill communities that I've ever been in, has some toxic elements to it. Like, it's inescapable. No matter how good of a media it is and how good the community is, there's always something negative to experience.
I think the fans that infuriate me the most that I encounter are the ones that act like they've made the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they take ownership over something that they haven't even worked on themselves, and that I think is probably the most toxic behavior you can find in a fandom.
I would say the death threats, but it's up there.
Oh, I mean, that probably goes hand in hand.
Often, yes.
Yeah. Like, how dare you make this thing the way you wanted to make it? I'm gonna fucking unalive you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The Final Fantasy XIV community were being annoying to the stream of those enjoying Dawn Trail. Yep. It's just, yeah. Fandom suck.
Yeah, like what
Universally.
the hell? Just let people enjoy things.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
Speaking of
The other
Flame
thing
Wars,
is
though.
like,
All right, go ahead.
yeah. No, I was just gonna say we don't need like 1,000 YouTube channels ragging on a thing just to make content. Can we just please just enjoy the things we enjoy?
Outrage sells. Outrage gets people's
Yeah.
attention. It's more,
As someone
yeah.
as someone whose favorite TV show might be the most hated one on online, it's just infuriating to say.
Mhm.
Uh,
That makes sense. I think it's a flaw in
Yeah.
human brains that anger gets our chemicals running better than positive conversation does.
yeah,
You're
sadly. That's why I
Biologically
try like
predisposed to anger.
any content I make, I really try to like encourage positivity, right? Like I shout out games that I think look really cool. I play games I enjoy. I never want to be one of those people who like plays games that I hate just to make content, like to make fun of them or to like rag on them. That's just not who I am as a person.
Hmm. Makes sense.
Unless I'm playing Kingdom Hearts. I'm joking. I'm joking. Just so everyone knows, Kingdom Hearts is fantastic in its own right.
yeah.
I just need to rile up the crowd here because I know there's a lot of Kingdom Hearts enjoyers.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
This looks like a perfect place to get some ingredients.
Every game has flaws, and you can circle jerk any amount of negativity infinitely
Yeah.
over any flaws. Yeah, that reminded me of a topic that I meant to discuss at some point and I forgot about. But I've been on Japanese Twitter a lot over the past few weeks because Elon Musk flipped a switch to add auto translation of Japanese and English tweets into each other's languages
My condolences.
via Grok's translate features. And it's been very interesting, honestly.
Yeah?
Because now people are seeing like all these posts from cultures that they're not as familiar with, and able
Right.
to communicate not seamlessly, but a lot smoother than manually translating back and forth, right? And it's just led to some very interesting cultural clashes that are very interesting philosophically to explore, I think. At first, it was just people sharing like pictures of food and pets and stuff, like usual social media behavior when you're trying to be friendly. There's a whole thing about, Americans are going to invite all the Japanese people over for barbecue. It's going to be great. But this past week, there was a huge flame war over the Nier Reincarnation fan server project. So for anyone who doesn't know, the Nier series by Yoko Taro is a fairly big... It's not a JRPG series at all, but kind of in that similar vein of long-running action-adventure series with a lot of very esoteric lore. And the piracy debate, yeah, which this is similar to, related to, but orthogonal to in some ways, which is interesting. But anyway, where's it going with this? Yeah, so the Nier franchise, the first game was a major console exclusive to Japan and then got ported to the West. Second game, Nier Automata, I think most people have heard of, with 2B as the main character.
I wonder
Obviously,
how that spread.
yeah, obviously. Very popular for a variety of reasons.
Know what your game is. Again.
But then Nier 3, which was titled Nier Reincarnation, was a mobile gacha game, which was originally Japanese only and then got an international release. But then as the game didn't perform very well, they kind of ramped down the localization support, and it became just gradually harder to play in the West until eventually, 2 years ago, I think it fully shut down. So it's no longer playable, but it's a big point of contention for Nier fans because Possibly. Possibly. Don't worry about it. Because Yoko Taro is really big on his esoteric lore. Like, they did a stage play in Japan that was based on some of his concepts for Nier that ended up being, like, a crucial part of the backstory for Nier Automata. But it was only done in Japan as a live stage play, and they didn't have, like, an official recording of it. So if you didn't go and watch the stage play, you were just permanently locked out of knowing about that lore, which is, from a Western perspective, kind of insane. But from a kind of a Japanese gamer perspective, is pretty normal over there. So when Reincarnation shut down, a bunch of Western fans are like, wait a minute, this is basically Nier 3 as far as the story and the lore is concerned. This is a direct continuation of Yoko Taro's previous work, and more than likely, if he does more stuff in the Nier universe, this will be an important part of the backstory for it. So of course we want to preserve it and give people a way to experience the story as Yoko Taro intended it, so that they can enjoy his work, and also if he does future work, they will understand what's going on, right? Seems reasonable to me. So someone has been working on reverse engineering the gacha game servers, the mobile game servers, so that you can use your existing copy of the game, but it'll connect to the fan servers instead, so you can still play the game, even after shutdown. But someone like retweeted his code repository for it, and it got seen by a bunch of Japanese gamers and became a huge flame war. With basically most of the Japanese opinion being, hey, how dare you tell Yoko Taro and Square Enix what they can do with their game. They wanted it to die, so therefore you have to respect their wishes and let it die. And there's a bunch of name calling, and oh, you only want to play it so you can play it for free because you're a pirate, and piracy is inherently morally wrong. And a bunch of name calling, and it's just interesting because I think there is like a huge cultural gap there between how they see the relationship between creators and work and copyright, and how a lot of Westerners see it. Like, over here, I think we see a lot of like games and other media as like cultural artifacts. Like, oh, you know, this is a movie that everyone loves, so in some way it is valuable to society on its own merits, and culturally we want to kind of collectively own it to some degree. Like, think about like how many people like are obsessed with Marvel and have all kinds of Marvel fan merch, and how many people set up at conventions and like make fan art of Marvel characters, right? Like, technically that's all copyright infringement. It's not official Disney material. But we still like consider it normal and acceptable to do that sort of thing, because we see that there's kind of a cultural value in it being shared and existing. But over there, they would see that that's completely immoral to do any of that, because it is solely the creator's purview to control who can experience their work and how to experience that work. And if they no longer want to distribute it, then there's nothing to be done about it. And trying to resurrect it is inherently wrong. And I just find it very interesting. They kind of see it as a like creative control through copyright as kind of an inherent moral value. Like, from a purely moralistic standpoint, the creator has full creative control. Whereas I think in the West, copyright is seen more as a kind of a capitalistic tool, more so than like a moral principle. It's that, okay, companies have copyright enforcement so that they can protect their revenue, so they continue to afford making more content. But it's in service of producing more cultural goods that people can enjoy, rather than it being their moral prerogative to do so. I don't know, just a very interesting little cultural clash. I thought was very interesting.
It really is. Because honestly, like, if you asked me, like, what side I want, well, side with, I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't have a stake in that. As a content creator, of course, I don't want, like, anyone to take my shed. I get it.
Hmm.
But if something is, like, marked obsolete, I mean, there's the whole term of, like, abandonware, right?
Yeah.
But I think that should come with the caveat of it being already having been gone for long enough that, yeah, maybe now is the time to, like, bring it back.
Hmm. Yeah, there's a bunch of dynamics at play, right? Like, you can agree that it has cultural value and it would be nice to still be able to experience it as intended, even after it's no longer distributed or supported. Like,
Yeah.
imagine how many, like, retro games are just completely gone if we didn't have people preserving ROMs and that sort of thing.
Which is absolutely important to do, yeah.
But at the same time, that is illegal. It's against copyright, and
Yeah.
at least some Japanese fans would say that's inherently wrong from a moral standpoint to even entertain the idea of preserving a cultural work.
Counterpoint to that, though, I think some people are also a little bit too obsessed with conserving everything and preserving everything. Like, there's definitely cultural touchstones where that is important, but we don't need to preserve Blobinzo's Voxel Shooter 3000 on Steam,
True.
like that kind of thing.
Not every
Like, yeah,
work
it's cool if
has
someone
cultural
does,
value that is
but-
worth preserving. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I feel like that is something that should be done as a community rather than by an individual. Like, if we had, like, an organization that specifically is made to preserve abandoned projects and they can do it through an official legal means,
Hmm.
that would be cool.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that would be the middle ground.
I agree. I was watching the Stop Killing Games parliamentary hearing. I mentioned that at the start of the stream, but one of the things that one of the representatives brought up was that they already have things like archival organizations who, like, archive books and movies and that sort of thing. Like, you know, official
Yeah.
libraries and that sort of thing that curate and maintain content like this. So it might make sense to, as part of this game preservation concept, fold that into existing nonprofit organizations and public organizations that do this stuff. Give them
Yeah.
special license to preserve and reproduce stuff, even if you don't make it a broader consumer right to do so. Yeah, really, you're right. Like, it is all about access. Like, if the creator didn't give you access to it, then you have no right to it from their perspective. And there is no value morally in giving anyone access to it if the creator didn't choose to do so. Like, even if you did support the artist, you did send them money and bought a copy, but you weren't legally allowed to do so because of, like, region restrictions, they would see that as just as immoral as straight up pirating it, which is very interesting.
Man.
And part of that, I was reading into it, is that their company setups are just dramatically different from the West. Like, the specific instance with Neo Reincarnation, it's kind of in a gray area because it isn't piracy because you're not directly copying the original game. You're not distributing game assets. It is taking the existing game client that you already have legally obtained and allowing it to connect to new servers, which isn't against the law, under some jurisdictions at least. But it did start a whole conversation about piracy. And it was interesting to see the different perspectives on it, because, like, among the people who do piracy, I don't, obviously, for the sake of public Twitch discussion. But, like, in South America or other countries and regions that have less spending power and less localizations in their native languages, there is a very widespread cultural attitude towards piracy, just because that is, in many cases, the only way that they can access works that are not distributed to their region or are not affordable in their region. And that leads to a lot of legitimate investment and spending on those works once people do have access to them. Like there's just massive communities in like Brazil, for example, or on various anime communities that spend a lot of money importing manga from overseas that would not have existed if they had not originally had access to scanlations and that sort of thing from community efforts that were probably technically piracy, but generally not considered worth litigating over, and so kind of tacitly supported.
I believe Crunchyroll was funded by previous fan subgroups.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Crunchyroll
another
started as a
example.
fan sub distribution platform, same as like most anime piracy sites. And it only became legitimate later once they started getting actual licensing deals. That is very interesting.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think sets the attitude apart is in the West, we consider companies to be often inherently adversarial towards the consumer or towards their employees. Like, especially with like bigger publishers, like there's this constant attitude of, oh yeah, EA is an inherently immoral company, therefore we don't care if they take a financial hit. Or we don't care about their creative licensing as long as we're not doing enough of a financial damage to them to get sued over it, you know? Same with like, we perceive Square Enix certainly on the same level of, yeah, okay, the creatives within Square Enix, like Yoko Taro, they probably like really want Nier Reincarnation, for example, to still be distributed and played. They still want to create content for it, but it's the suits at Square Enix that have shut it down because it's not profitable enough. You know? We kind of make all these assumptions about it. Whether they're true or not, I don't know. Probably depends on a case-by-case basis, but there's a lot of Western attitude of hostility towards the company themselves, while there's benevolent attitudes towards the actual creatives within it. But in Japan, it is a lot more common for especially major creative directors and producers and that sort of thing to have a content or a profit sharing agreement with the company over their work, basically royalties. So like Yoko Taro probably makes admittedly a small amount, but some amount of royalties off of sales of microtransactions from Nier Reincarnation, for example. So you could make an argument that by not spending money on it, although it's a dead game, so in reality that's a moot point, but if it wasn't, if you were legitimately pirating it somehow, that somehow you are taking money away from Yoko Taro directly, rather than just the larger corporation that can afford it. Which is definitely not how things work in the West. In the West, you do not ever get royalties on the games you produce. Like, especially like, even if you're like an indie or a AA game and you have a publisher, more often than not, you either have a very limited cut of the proceeds or none at all, and the publisher instead just gives a flat sum to fund your development and marketing costs. And it is very rare for individual creatives to have any like financial stake in how well a game sells in the West. And that's a very different attitude apparently from Eastern company culture, at least in some cases. So it's very interesting.
It's quite the divide, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, funnily enough, like, it's a completely different thing, but we also see the difference between the two cultures in game development itself.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We have a lot fewer, we still have some, but we have a lot fewer, like, distinct creatives who are kind of well known just by their names. Like, people like Peter Molyneux and Jonathan Blow and that sort of thing. We have some people like that,
Yeah.
but it's not quite as widespread.
they're definitely more likely to branch off and do their own thing, whereas the Japanese developers do tend to be like they tend to stick with the company, unless you have like big names like Hideo Kojima, who did eventually break off of Konami, right?
Yeah.
Or Hideki Kamiya. I forget his name, but the Resident Evil dude, Shinji Mikami. There we go. Like they all went off and made their own studios eventually, which I think is also much more of a Western approach.
Absolutely. Like it is very hard to get fired in Japan.
Oh yeah.
And so especially if you can get some kind of revenue sharing agreement, like you end up with a lot of creative people that stay at the same company for decades and decades. And so there's also just kind of an attitude that comes from that of, oh, the company is the creatives. They're one and the same. You can't separate them. Like, no one ever say, I want to give money to Miyamoto, but not Nintendo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, really. I think ultimately that's my takeaway from this discussion is I think it's a very underdeveloped and unexplored kind of philosophical discussion of what is the cultural value of games, and does that give it any special protection beyond just capitalistic copyright protection? Like, is there cultural value in sharing and distributing and forming communities around games beyond the monetary value of the producer making money from the games? That's something we don't stop and analyze much.
I think realistically, the only way really that this works is if we, well, to phrase it bluntly, it would be nice if more people knew about Shut the Fuck Up Fridays. Maybe don't post about the illegal things that you're doing and just keep it within your circle.
Absolutely. But I think what that shows for me, though, the fact that people are more upfront about it. Like,
yeah.
Even like 10 years ago, yeah, you wouldn't go around shouting, oh yeah, I'm pirating all these games. And now you have a lot of people on like social media that are like proudly showing off videos of their mods to the entire internet.
Yeah.
And because I think it's because there is a cultural shift that towards like devaluing copyright, essentially. And is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I don't know, but it is clearly a cultural value shift that I find very interesting. This idea that the consumer has more interest in the work beyond the financial value to the creator, to the publisher. Very interesting difference.
Yeah, because unfortunately, like a large group of people, they don't really care about the preservation part. They're more caring about like getting theirs.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Like there's a certain amount of people that are definitely feeling entitled to be playing a game without paying for it. That's a whole nother issue in and of itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Is it crazy to think that people should be paid for their work? Definitely not. That's how it should be.
Yeah.
But like you said, in a lot of cases with Western video game development, those developers have already been paid for their work.
Mm-hmm.
It's...
Yeah, you're more likely to get laid off after a game ships than to get royalties on it.
Yeah.
If you work for a Western game studio. Yeah, and obviously, like, 90% of the time, it is just people who want shit for free, right?
Yeah, it's very demoralizing to see. Because at the end of the day, like, no one forces you to play the game. You don't have to buy this game. You don't have to play it. I understand feeling left out, but I feel like that's a you issue. That's a them issue.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But I do wonder if the people who aren't just looking for piracy as a free shit button, if the people who are genuinely concerned about protection and preservation have a point. Because, like,
Yeah.
before the modern copyright era, it was very normal for works to pass into the public domain within a couple of years. If you talk about, like, pre-modern, pre-Disney, basically, copyright. And now copyright lasts until, like, 70 years after the death of the author or whatever BS. Like,
Yeah.
would we consider all these games and movies that were parts of our formative years and our, you know, our childhoods, and now we're like in our 30s? Like all the games we played back in the early 2000s, late 90s, like a lot of that probably is worth preserving, at least the parts that we remember because they were good. There's a lot of cultural history and value there. And legally, none of it will ever see the light of day because we'll be dead by the time it's in the public domain.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of ridiculous on some level?
Well, not everything is meant to last.
It's really not, but it could.
Yeah, that's true. Like, future generations will, of course, have their own things, but especially in the learning space, right? You do want to have all the things you can reference, you can learn from.
Mhm.
Like, it's... Imagine, right, if the... God, let's go to the oldest known written text that we have, the Epic of Gilgamesh. Imagine if we didn't have that.
Yeah.
Imagine if that had gotten lost to time.
Mhm.
Like so many other stories.
You know, a lot of people use it as their inspiration for fantasy, and now there's no way to experience it.
Yeah.
Like,
Sure,
even
there
more
would have been
modern day.
another thing that came along, but it wouldn't be the same.
Like, for example, with JRPGs, especially like kind of the 2D SNES style JRPGs, like, imagine saying you want to get into like making RPG Maker games and having not played Chrono Trigger, right? Like, Chrono Trigger is
Yeah.
like the big inspiration for your 2D SNES style JRPGs. And it's entirely possible there's no legal way to play Chrono Trigger as it was meant to be played if you don't have access to a Super Nintendo and the original hardware, because all the ports suck.
Yeah.
Every single one. So you want to play the original, I mean, your only option is to pirate it, basically. And I don't condone that, but like, it's kind of crazy that that is the case.
No, see, what you do is you emulate it and you just own the game, and that's fine, right?
Yeah, but legally that's not okay.
No, it
That's
should
still-
be.
I agree. That, like, the value of the creator's work as far as their ability to make a profit off of it, that's the whole point of copyright in the West. And that makes a lot of sense. Of course, you want people to get paid for their work. You want people to be able to take their work without paying for it. But when they're no longer making money from it, and there's no way to give them money for it, what are you supposed to do? When a game has been out of print for 20 years and the studio that made it no longer exists,
You make it yourself.
true. But if you want to
Yeah,
play the
no,
original,
that's-
or experience the original,
Yeah.
I don't know.
What do you mean? You're telling me I can't just type into ChatGPT, hey, generate Chrono Trigger for me, please?
Well, it's probably in its training data. It might be able to spit out a ROM for you.
Yeah, this is unfortunately a topic that just a topic of discussion where we'll probably never find a good answer for it.
Yeah, and I don't have an answer or a takeaway. I think it's an interesting
Yeah.
topic to think about. It's worth considering.
I don't even know if I have an opinion on it other than like people shouldn't expect everything to be free, but
Absolutely.
we already know that.
Yeah. I'm absolutely not saying abolish copyright.
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah.
dumb.
Like it's there for a reason. We're all content creators in our own right. We kind of want that kind of protection,
Mhm.
even if it's just Creative Commons on the internet.
Yep. But stuff remaining inaccessible for 100 years when it has cultural
Yeah.
value is kind of weird.
Like, here's the thing, right? If I were to publish a book and people pirated it, I would be bummed. I would be honestly kind of sad about it. Because I do want to, like, get repaid for my work.
Mhm.
But then again, I'm like, okay, but if people are enjoying it enough that they go out of their way to pirate it, that's also kind of flattering.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to defend
But it
piracy
depends.
overall, but like,
If it's my livelihood, I would be upset, of course.
yeah. But if it's been out of print for 30 years, like it's a book you wrote back in your 20s and you're now like 65 and you're not
Then I
making
would
money
be
off
so
that anymore.
happy if people preserved it. Yeah.
Yeah. People valued your work enough to resurrect it. And if they would
Lord
give you
knows I've
money
probably
for it
done
if they
something
could,
new since then.
but they don't have an option
Yeah.
for it because you're not printing it anymore. Yeah, and I think the economics of it are very complex. I think almost every study that's been done on piracy has either been inconclusive or showed that there's actually a positive effect from it.
Oh
Because
yeah.
it drives word
yeah.
of mouth and indirect sales through that, which is interesting.
It's why it's such a hot topic to really like get a hold of.
Mhm.
Yeah, the translating into the other languages thing is definitely valid. Like, again, that's how also CD Projekt Red started, and look at them now.
Mm-hmm. A lot of the the overseas markets all over the world came from people translating things into their native languages despite not legally having the right to do so.
Yeah.
And that turns into industries that
actually-
do spend money on it.
So that is a thing that's been popping up recently. Is that a lot of big YouTubers and even medium-sized ones are popping up on like Chinese video services with Chinese subtitles or even like AI-generated Chinese voiceovers.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been popping off, and they've been actually getting new eyes on the content through that. Now, some of them hate that, but there's others that think that that's really cool and they feel flattered by it.
Mm-hmm. It is a market that you didn't otherwise have access to. We're not going to spend the money to market to. But now it exists. It's interesting, for sure. Worth thinking about.
Yeah. It's a good reminder for people too that just because they make something in English does not mean it has global appeal.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes you may only think about making it in English, but it has global appeal you didn't expect.
Yeah. Create a donation page so if pirates are nice, they can support you outside of normal means. That's just itch.io. What are you talking about?
True. And some indies are very successful there. Not very many, but some.
No, I think, honestly, itch.io has been, like, really healthy for the indie community, because if you have a small game and you kind of just want to share it,
Mm-hmm.
that's a great way to do it.
Absolutely.
Better than Steam, for sure.
Mm-hmm. It's also the best marketplace for game assets. If you ever want to buy pre-made assets. Very sharing-oriented culture. Alrighty. Almost at the 3-hour mark, so I guess we can probably start winding down. I'm running
That's
out of
fine by
topics.
me. I got nothing really else that I wanted to talk about. I got to rant about what I wanted to rant about.
Now let's see. You already recommended your indie games, and I definitely recommend people go check those out. I've just been up and playing a lot of games this year. It was weird. Mostly revisiting games
Yeah.
that I already bought and paid for. Like the fact that my last few weeks have just been playing Starfield. When I have plenty of other games that I'm also interested in playing, I just haven't gotten around to them yet. That's how it goes.
I feel that, like, outside of stream, I haven't really been playing much either. But I think that's also partially because all of the games that I do want to play are very long,
Mm-hmm.
and I just don't have that much time in my life anymore. So rather than doing that, I just, like, play, like, a couple games of Magic Arena here and there.
Makes sense. I got so many games that I'm like, I want to play these, but I just don't have the time and energy to like sit down and actually like play through a long form game. Yeah, I'm just like, I got an hour before bed. I am not gonna boot up Danganronpa and dive into that for an hour.
Exactly, yeah. I have the Great Ace Attorney on my Switch, and I keep looking at it, and I'm like, I would need to spend a whole day on that if I want to really enjoy it.
Exactly. Yeah, I haven't played the Project Moon games right, Yahazu. Light Brave Ruin, and that's going to take a while, but slowly working through it. check
Yeah,
out
so
Limbus Company
how has
eventually.
Project Moon been, like, overall? Like, has I watched you play, like, a lot of Lobotomy Core?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Lobotomy Corporation
Like,
working
overall-
through Library of Ruina. I don't know.
know.
I'm enjoying parts of it. I think that's my takeaway. I do think there are a lot of rough edges to their design and their writing. They're no fault of their own. That's just an indie small company problem in general.
I do love that they're doing their own thing now.
Yeah.
That's a huge plus.
Absolutely respect them for that. I mean,
Yeah.
and Limbus Company is a live service gacha mobile game, and those are extremely difficult to pull off if you don't have Genshin money. So the fact that they are at all cash flow positive on that is kind of insane. I hope that they're cash flow positive.
I don't think it matters if they are. I think they just really like making that.
Like, you still need money to pay people to make it, presumably. I assume they're
I
getting paid
yeah,
salaries.
let's assume they're getting paid. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's a very difficult thing to pull off, so I'm glad that they've got a fandom that allows them to do it. Just being very honest about
Yeah.
Limbus being because they want funds for future projects makes sense.
It does boil down again to what I prefaced the entire conversation that we had today with. Know what your game is
Mm-hmm.
and
And-
play into it.
Exactly. And they do have a very particular aesthetic and setting that they're working with,
Yeah.
and I think that is their biggest strength. Is the world of Levati Corporation and Limbus Company and Library of Ruina is very distinct, very interesting. They've got a lot of fun concepts they play with. And for better or worse, they have a very consistent vibe to their gameplay, which is difficult and very RNG dependent, coin flips and random negative and positive effects. We don't talk about Lovetown. We do not talk about Lovetown. That's true. Nice.
What is Love Town?
You don't. Well, it's a very interesting encounter in Library of Ruina. It is. I'm gonna have nightmares about that one for a while.
Huh. I mean, I do plan to play Ruin eventually, just waiting on a sale
There you
any
go.
day now.
Definitely a lot more playable than Lobotomy Corporation in my eyes, mostly because I get stressed out too easily with Lobotomy Corporation. I'm not good with real-time, stress-oriented games.
It is a stress simulator, yeah.
hmm It's like, oh yeah, I forgot to feed the one monster because I was juggling 10 other things, and okay, now that's the entire day ruined. I gotta reset everything. Because I wasn't paying attention for 5 seconds. Not my kind of game. I did get through it. I did have to cheat for most of it, but I got through it eventually. But Library of Ruina is fully turn-based, so it's a lot more approachable in my eyes on that front.
Yeah. I've definitely made a shift towards turn-based games myself for that very reason. Like, I know I'm playing Neo 2 right now, which is anything but like, on my own time.
Yeah.
I definitely prefer the turn-based approach.
And I can do real-time games as long as there is, like, very clear starts and stops to the intensity.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, okay, I'm entering a combat. Okay, and now I can do real-time combat for a minute. And then I'm back to having free roam and relative safety. I can do that. But when it's just constantly juggling things, like the Overcooked or Played Up or that kind of genre of, like, hectic management sim, I just can't stand those at all. Not my kind of game.
On the topic of Project Moon games, though, there is one new-ish game that I do want to shout out before we end.
All right.
That has a very the art style is certainly something. It is called Off the Devil, and it is a very Danganronpa Phoenix Wright-esque deduction game.
After Devil?
Off the Devil. And not after, but like something that's off the
Oh, of
devil.
Got it.
OF Yeah.
Sorry, accent.
Yeah, hi. Like, I feel like this could be someone's hyperfixation game from what I've seen of it.
Mm-hmm. It looks stylish.
It's definitely a very personal art style, which is why talking about Project Moon games kind of made me think of it.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. It's very neon.
Yeah.
It's fun. Nice.
Yeah. See, that way I shouted a game out for all of my favorite genres today. Perfect.
Nice. There you go.
Another cool one you might not have heard of is Outer Wilds.
Yes. Of
Really
course.
recommend that one. Yeah.
I haven't played it, but
Comes
I'll
out
have,
every
I'll have
year.
to check it out. You know, I see a lot of people recommending it.
Yeah. It's gonna
please
be someone's favorite game, I'm sure.
Nah, couldn't be me.
No. Too jank.
Yep. It's not like I spent 2 years working on mods for it or something. Jeez. That time flies.
I don't know, I sent my drone through a black hole and it just crashed the game.
Yeah, crazy. Very
Yeah.
buggy. There you go. There's my takeaway. Go play Outer Wilds if you haven't. Yes, Rillin's playthrough was great. I loved watching Rillin's playthrough of Outer Wilds. That was a really
Rillin's
fun
very
experience.
analytical with his gameplay approach, yeah.
Picking up on so many details that even I didn't pick up on, and I have been playing the game much longer.
This is the gaming experience that I live for, is to just I had a good wording for it on stream the other day, but like play games for what they are.
Mm-hmm. Engage with
Like,
them on their own
there's a-
terms.
Exactly, yeah, meet them on your own terms, thank you. On their own terms, rather, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
You'll have
so
a lot more fun if
important
you try to
do.
engage with what they're trying to do, rather than obsess over what they're not doing.
Yeah, like, yeah, we all want games to be a specific thing, but it's so satisfying when you do encounter a game that really forces you to engage with it in a meaningful way. And you
Mhm.
can approach any game like that. Once you learn the trick, there you go. That's why I'm enjoying Look Outside so much. Had I played Look Outside a couple years ago, I would have hated it.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Yeah.
I
But
would have
no,
gone in with very different
I've become
expectations.
a better gamer since then. As in, a more considerate game, I want to say.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Meet games where they're at.
Absolutely. Even if you still aren't enjoying it as much as you want to enjoy it, you will enjoy it a lot more if you let it do its thing.
Yeah,
If you go in with a negative attitude, you're going to come out with a negative attitude.
exactly, yeah.
Fuck around and find out it doesn't have a negative connotation? Absolutely. Outer Wilds is a game where you're supposed to go in and fuck up and die a lot. That is the intended gameplay experience.
So, this is in fact the main reason that in my Look Outside playthrough so far, I've not save scummed a single time. When I die and I reload. But anytime something bad happens, I never go back and reload the save. I want to keep playing it the way that the game wants me to experience it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's made it a better experience from it, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense. You're intended to stumble sometimes. That's part of the loop. You
Yeah.
make mistakes and lose resources.
Like, that's what makes... I mean, God, let's go completely granular. Choose your own adventure books. You know how boring it would be if you just go to your preferred outcome every time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that defeats the point.
Might as well just read a regular book.
Yeah. You're supposed to experience both the ups and downs.
Yeah. And it's so satisfying to play a game that actually, like, lets you do that rather than being like, nope, you failed, go back.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
To answer your question, Yahazu, why Ryback was in Gabro's camp, that's because the Traveler models were like the last thing they did for the game. They mostly contracted external contractors to make them. And Ryback's was the first one they finished when they were starting to put the trailers together. So they didn't have Gabbro yet. So they just plopped right back down because that was the one model they had.
Right. Damn. Trivia.
Heavily scripted little trailer, believe it or not. The tornadoes don't normally get that close, but they modified the code to spawn them in closer to get this shot.
This is the kind of video game trivia I'd live for.
Yep. It's not like I'm intimately familiar with the code to know when I see a trailer manager .c# file to know what that means and what they did with it. But yeah. Cool. That was a lot of meandering, but 2026 so far. Not a whole lot of games yet, but we got some good games out there. Some interesting discussion topics. Very curious to see by the end of 2026 how many of these trends continue. If there's any big upsets.
That's actually a good question. Do you have a prediction as to where video gaming is going to go trend-wise?
Yeah, I think we're going to continue to see AAA companies stumble and die. And unfortunately, I think we're going to start seeing a lot of AAA AI-generated games at the end of this year. But I also expect we'll see a lot more indies that go viral and have widespread success doing things that are different. And I think that is something to look forward to.
I think so too. I think people now, more than ever, are more conscious of indie games as a space. It's still very much niche, but far less niche than it used to be.
Absolutely.
We're well beyond the Super Meat Boy days of indie gaming.
Well beyond. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That self-publishing is not only viable, but in many cases, the only way to
Preferred.
go and still make money.
Also, if you're a game developer and you have a cool idea and you have like a demo, like a vertical slice of a game you want to make, go send it into an indie publisher. Like, they look at more than you would think.
Yeah, there are a lot of good indie level publishers now. That's been a huge boom.
Yeah. The Stardew Valley developer didn't even reach out to anyone. He was approached by Chucklefish and they were like, hey, can we just do your marketing for you for a slice of the profits?
Exactly.
It's that easy sometimes. Just make a good game, forehead.
If you have a game that'll sell itself on social media, then they'll come to you.
Yeah.
Just have something that looks good on social media. Because it's compelling and interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that about wraps that whole topic up. Well, yeah. I think it's valid to say that indie developers should take risks if they can afford to.
Absolutely.
They should never put themselves in the AAA mindset of like, oh, I have to appease the crowd that doesn't know me.
No. Make something unique that people will talk about.
Yeah.
Which means don't chase trends because people are already sick of talking about the trends by the time your game is out. Make something that sets you apart. It's new.
Don't make yet another survival crafting game.
It's weird.
Please, for the love of God. No more early access survival crafting slop, please. I beg.
You will never find widespread financial success by following trends. Because by the time you ship your game, the trend will be over and no one will care.
Yeah. No, think about what you would want to play. Is there a game that doesn't exist yet that you would love for it to exist? Try to make that.
Don't expect to make money on it, but if you do, that'll be a pleasant surprise. In the meantime, you'll have learned a lot of interesting new skills and made something that you like.
Oh boy, Yahazu, do I have good news for you.
There's plenty to play.
Huh?
Yeah, really, I don't think we're gonna see human-built AAA games. I just fully expect them to get away with as much AI as they can on every project. That's just how these people think.
You know what I miss in the AAA space? And I know it wasn't technically AAA at the time, but the era of games as toys, like, you know,
Sorry.
the Game Boy Advance era, right, where a lot of games were just made to like sell a product.
Mm-hmm.
What
physical
was
products
the
are dead. So that's part of it.
Metabots? Metabots.
I was thinking about Metabots the other day. I was like, can I reverse
Yeah.
engineer that GPA game? That'd be a fun project.
Like
But-
Mega Man Battle Network falls into that category. The
That was
Super
back when-
Robot Wars games.
Yeah, that was back when toys made money, and toys don't make money anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Now the game is the product.
Games are, in and of themselves, more profitable than any other media space, physical or digital. More profitable than film now, which is crazy. We've
I
officially
love this
surpassed
product.
Hollywood in terms of total spend. Mostly because ticket sales have declined dramatically, but still.
Well, I mean, the new Super Mario Bros. Movie is a product for sure.
True. Very much a product.
Yeah.
Oh, there's my other shout out. If and when Iron Lung comes out on streaming, go watch Iron Lung.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. I'm gonna do that. I still haven't had the chance to see it in cinemas.
I think it's a very well
Also-
done, low budget existential horror film.
Yeah. Go check that out. Oh, Brillin, you're talking about something that actually was a thing for a long time. You could buy the Yu-Gi-Oh cards and then insert the code on the card into the game and you get that card in-game.
Oh yeah, that was the thing with
That was the thing for a lot of the GBA games.
Yeah, that's true.
The card had to be coded into the game, of course. Like, you couldn't take, like, future cards and put them in the game. But yeah, I basically just looked up cards online and just input the code into the game.
There you
And that
go.
worked.
Nice.
Like, every Yu-Gi-Oh card had a serial code on it.
Okay, well, low budget by major film production standards.
Yeah, like in the same way that Clair Obscur was made low budget with a small team.
Oh, sorry, now I'm gonna go on a tangent about Iron Lung. But I was watching an interview with him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I fully expected to not make a single dollar back on this. Like, I did not do a budget ahead of time. I was just like, okay, how much money do I have to spend to get what I want for this scene or this shot or this element of production?" I was like, okay, I want to have real fake blood for all of this. Okay, how much is that going to cost? Okay, fine, that's what it costs. Which is
Crazy.
an insane attitude to have towards film budgeting.
The fake blood industry has been saved by this man.
And the fact that they built 2 full physical submarine sets, which is insane.
I just like to imagine someone sitting in like the fake blood development office and being like, man, CGI has really financially ruined us. We're gonna have to go bankrupt. And then Markiplier shows up, kicks the door in.
I'm gonna pay you billions of dollars for your fake blood supply.
What are we gonna do with all this fake blood that we bought?
Yeah, fun film. Very interesting production.
Yeah, and now we're getting a Jacksepticeye film too.
Yeah.
You know, it's just an adaptation of another small indie horror game. You might have heard of it.
I think there's even a list here. Let's see. Video game is film and television releases in 2026. There's Iron Lung. Return to Silent Hill. I heard nothing good about that one.
Oh no. No.
I heard Mortuary Assistant is decent. I did like the game. I don't know how well it translated to film.
Yeah.
Chris Mario Galaxy
Needy
movie.
Girl Overdose is getting an anime adaptation, or Streamer Girl Overload if you're in the West.
Needy Streamer Overload. We're definitely I'm gonna say we're in the golden age of video game film adaptations. Hopefully it gets better.
They've
but,
been getting better at respecting the source material.
I think they're performing about as well as the average movie is performing in 2026. So I think we might be at the peak of how good it can get.
We're far removed from the 90s video game movie adaptations. That's for sure.
Absolutely. These are being taken
the
seriously.
TV shows are doing even better.
Yeah. Fallout Season 1 was really good. Season 2 less so.
Yeah.
That was less because it was a bad adaptation and more just because it was poorly written. Don't look at Silent Hill, the rest are okay. Fair enough.
What I would love to see one day, because that's honestly what a lot of anime is already doing, just like a big budget TV show that is quote unquote based on a video game, but the video game doesn't exist. I would love that.
That'd be interesting. I'm sure at that point they're like, well, why not just make it actually an adaptation then?
Well, I guess that's how Shadow Labyrinth turned out. It's like, hey, we made this horror Pac-Man short for this anthology series, and now it's a Metroidvania.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Like, well, I guess we're making that now.
Yep. Oh no, wait. Is that what the Concord cutscenes are going to be? An adaptation of a video game that doesn't exist?
There we go.
Oh no.
Basically already is. That's true, yeah. CGI is as cheap as it's ever been to do convincing CGI with. And at the same time, studios are dramatically underpaying and undercommitting for CGI. So you have a lot of CGI experts in studios that are not getting consistent work from Hollywood studios that are now serving their services at as cheap as they can get away with to smaller production companies. You see a lot of smaller budget studios that have decent CGI.
There's a huge gap between what the actual movie makers are getting paid and what the actors are getting paid, and it sucks.
Mm-hmm. Also, the unions are supposed to protect, but the VFX union in particular has been completely sabotaged at every turn.
It's almost non-existent, really.
Yep. There are a lot of attempts to get it more stable, but they fell through. That's how it is.
That is how the cookie crumbles.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, do we want to wrap things up?
I think we wrap things up, yeah.
Okay.
Alright, so this has been Game Talk with Nona for 2026, at least the first third of 2026. We'll definitely do a follow-up in a couple of months and see how things are shaking out.
Yeah, we can aim for in 4 months again. That sounds like a good time frame.
Yeah, more or less. Obviously, there's no particular dates to schedule around, but...
Yeah, like at the latest, I would come back for the Game Awards.
Absolutely. One way or another, we're doing a Game Awards show.
Yeah.
Those are fun.
Maybe in the future, at some point, we can turn this into an actual podcast.
True, yeah.
Because I feel like we talk about a lot of topics that in the gaming space people just don't really care to talk about.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
At least not at this level. Like, obviously on social media people will shitpost about it, but like, it's rare that someone actually takes the time to sit down for an hour and talk about like the approach to indie games.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it'd be difficult to do it in a long form video format, so podcasts make sense.
Yeah.
But yeah. Alrighty. Well, thank you all for listening in. Everyone who stopped by.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Of course, thank you, Nono. Absolutely, every time. These are a lot of fun, and they're usually because you tell me, hey, let's sit down and do another episode, so
Yeah, I'll probably reach to you out again once I have like another topic that really burns through my skull that I need to get out.
I'm definitely expecting there to be some big industry news by next time that I'll want to talk about as well.
God, I can't wait for Epic Games to be bankrupt next month.
You never know. Very possible.
You never know. Manifest it.
Yeah.
Alright,
We'll find out.
we will.
Alrighty. Well, everyone has a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you next time. Make sure you check out Nona's streams, and my streams, and all of our other lovely friends.
Yeah. I might actually still stream for a bit tonight, we'll see.
Nice. I'll definitely go check that out then. Go follow Nona if you're not already. I think I can do a shout out from here. Slash shout out? No, I have to use actual Twitch chat. That's annoying. There we go. Go follow Nona if you're not already. I'm sure almost all of you already are, but just in case.
Just in case, you never know.
Have a good weekend, and we'll see you next time.
Bye bye.